gonna act like I'm doing it.
Oh gosh, okay.
No. Oh! Like, I'm gonna show you guys after this.
Welcome back to the Inside Sports Podcast. This is episode 8 of season 3. Howard, is the DE capitalized?
It always is.
Always. Ryan, do we have an amazing editor named Will?
Heck yeah, we do.
Shout out to Will for doing this. We're going to get right into the action because we have crap ton to talk about. Let's start with Salukis Sports. And if you've watched the last couple of episodes, it's pretty much just rinse and repeat. Not a great weekend, but we did have a team win a game. Volleyball did win on Friday night. Shout out to my volleyball girls, defeated Valpo 3-1, and then on Saturday lost to UIC 3-0. Currently, they are 9-9, 2-5 in the MVC. I think we've now reached this point in the season where we can start talking about where they stand in the conference and whatnot. They've got a little over half the schedule left to go in conference play. It's going to be an interesting ride down to the finish. And for those who don't know, the top 8 teams make the conference tournament. So you must finish in the top 8 to have a shot at the NCAA tournament. For the next week, they play at Evansville on Friday. And Evansville is 2-16, by the way, 1-5 in the MVC. And then on Saturday, they played Indiana State, who was 3-15 and 0-6 in the MVC. So I think they're going to have an opportunity here to not only beef up the conference record, but really establish themselves as a team in that top 8 and maybe fix some things that are still bothering us. In terms of this past weekend, right, they played Valpo. I thought the energy was back on Friday night, and it was a big game for a lot of different people, but in particular for Celia Beaumont. For those who don't know, her dad recently, I think it was back in August even, was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of stomach cancer. And he used to coach at Valparaiso, so they did a whole thing for him. He couldn't be there, unfortunately, because it is a very aggressive thing. So check out the volleyball pages if you want to know more information on that. But it was a big game for a lot of different reasons, and we got the dub. Larissa Seeger, Annabelle Sulish, Eva Krakowski, I mean, they were dominating at the net. I think that's been the one thing that we've talked about from the beginning is that was going to sway this season in a good or a bad direction. And they finally played their best game, I think, from a net defensive standpoint on Friday night. And really for Annabelle, she had 19 kills. I think she brought a little bit of her swagger back. But in that game in particular, Howard, I'll open this up to you because this is something that we've been talking about a lot recently. Emma Stromenska has now taken over as the main setter here over Anna Jaworski. And we've talked about this a lot. I don't know what to attribute to that. It's certainly not something I would just ask Coach Allen out of nowhere. But I attribute it to a defensive thing. I think Emma is a little bit better defensively. What do you attribute her getting more playing time to? Do you think it might be a scheme thing? What's the best solution you can come up with?
It's so interesting because when you brought it up to me a couple weeks ago at the game about the differences, I guess, when Emma played and when Anna played, it was like weeks before, I interviewed Coach about like the differences or what he saw between the two. And he said like Anna delivers a more tempo-related ball. She's just more experienced in what she does on the floor. And it was like to now see Emma, I think we saw progressively to her being like she started a couple games and now I think you said she's flat out the starter at this point. That's very interesting. It's an interesting development, and I think it'll materialize how impactful that would be for the team, especially this weekend. These are 2 games that you should take care of, take care of business. But if that's what it takes, I'm sure Anna will be fine with that, and hopefully Emma is ready to take that spot.
It's funny you mentioned the opening schedules, the MVC play. I was actually talking with Coach about that earlier today. He said, have you ever seen a more difficult start to an MVC schedule? Because we've had to play both Iowa schools who are NCAA tournament good. We've had to play Illinois State and Bradley, who are always at the top of the conference. And then because of the unbalanced schedule, the only schools we don't play twice this year, give me a guess who you think they are.
Your guess is
Evansville and Indiana State. So every other school gets the pleasure of playing them twice and getting some free wins. No offense to the Sycamores and Aces, but that's just what it is. And which, by the way, if your team is called the Aces, you probably should be better at all. Yeah. Don't you think? I just thought of that.
Yeah, but both these teams are punching bags in every sport besides Indiana State for basketball.
And baseball.
And baseball.
And baseball.
You're right.
But yeah, we should get a couple of wins this weekend. If we lose a game this weekend, we'll really have to start recalibrating everything. Again, the net defense in the second game against UIC did become a little bit of an issue. I just think the block blockers were a little bit slower to get there. And I think playing Valpo and then playing UIC, who was another good team, that road trip as well contributes to the tough schedule so far. I think that the speed difference was a big problem there. And, last week I said on the pod I would but when I go to practice, I started listening for different things that coaches were trying to be poignant about, if you will, in practice. And one thing that Ed Allen was very, very, he was very, what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, I'm like blanking. He's very vocal about, thank you, was being intentional with their hits. And I saw that in Friday's game at Valpo, where our outside hitters, Annabelle in particular, was very intentional about where she was going with the ball, Kelly a couple times too, and it yielded good results. And I even thought against UIC in the game that we were pretty much outmatched from the beginning, we saw that work out for us, and it really, really helped. In that UIC game, the last thing I'll say, set 3, we're already down 2-0, right? So it's not looking great. CC Bowman gets 6 aces as part of an 11-0 run in the middle of set 3. We go up 17-10. Now UIC fights back as they are apt to do. 21-18, UIC sets one up for their outside hitter. The ball goes right over, at least I thought, right over Kelly and I think it was Larissa's fingertips. And they call it a tip ball and it went out of bounds.
Yeah. So
that would be UIC's point, right? Trying to block it, right? Well, if you look on the replay, and I'll show both of you guys here in a second. If you look on the replay, to me, it's not particularly close that the ball didn't hit their fingertips.
Yeah.
But that call completely changed the rest of that set. All of our momentum went away. I thought we were about to make another 5-set comeback, honestly, because of how well we were playing in that third set. And it just quickly vanished here. I'll show how it real quick.
So the thing is, I thought I missed this call, because I was flipping back and forth between college football. And I actually saw this.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that won't get overturned. We got that.
Yeah.
So I flipped it back and I turned back minutes later and the game was over. And I was like, oh, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And even the broadcaster, who was very, he was kind of a fanboy of UIC. Shout out to Peter. I don't know the guy, but he just was. He in that moment was like, clearly there's a gap there. And that would have changed it from a 21-18 lead to a 22-18 lead. And then USC ended up scoring 7 of the next 8 points.
Yeah.
And that ended the match, just like that. And so that was a pretty depressing ending to what I thought was a pretty positive weekend overall. Like I said, they went 1-1 to play at Evansville and at Indiana State this weekend. So, again, finally we've seen some positive signs. 4-game losing streak ends. A losing streak that is not over, unfortunately, is Saluki football. But, again, I would say from a positivity standpoint, there were some, I guess you want to call them encouraging signs from this weekend against North Dakota State, particularly on the defensive end, Howard.
For sure. I mean, when you looked ahead to this game, it was pretty obvious that we weren't going to win this one. But I think you would be surprised watching this game that we were actually in this one for a decent amount. And that's really owes to our defense. We were in this game for a long time, and we actually had a chance in a battle with the number 2 ranked team in the country. I think other games where we performed well were Incarnate Word and Austin Peay, but they were able to pick on us through the air and passing the ball. But we held the ball. We held it up our end with stopping the run. But this one, I think, it was more balanced in terms of stopping the run and stopping the pass. Now, that was interesting because North Dakota State was doing something weird with their quarterbacks. They kept switching them out in between, even though the second quarterback didn't throw the ball that much. But they didn't light us up really. They ran the ball decently well, 4.4 yards per carry, but only 200 yards passing. So I think it was a great effort in getting the ball first. We actually had a solid opening script with Jake Curry, the true freshman, getting his first career start, but a big time fumble kind of derailed everything. And I was like, for a second, I was like, man, they're really competing out there. Are we gonna make this a game? But that fumble kind of took everything apart. He didn't look completely terrible, I don't think, especially for a true freshman.
No.
But one thing I do want to bring up is, for a while now, SIU has had a lack of a true bell cow, if you will, a good running back and a good running game in general. And that type of pressure that it puts on your quarterback to really perform, because the defense knows that they don't have to stack that many in the box or really commit to the run because you don't have an explosive running attack or something that really endangers you. Also, Paul Geelan, he's interesting. He's had a roller coaster year so far. You can see he clearly has the leg. He made a 50-yarder in this one, but then he missed a 41-yarder. He missed a 28-yarder. Was that last week or 2 weeks ago? I think it was last
Against
week.
SEMO, I think.
Yeah, seems like I don't know.
Probably last week too.
Well, he missed one last week. He missed two.
Yeah,
last
he did.
week.
Yeah, he's 5 for 10 on the year. And it's like I said, he clearly has the talent in the leg. I don't know what it is necessarily. And me and Ryan, like, we'll talk to him. I guess was it Wednesday for our class.
Yeah.
See if he has anything to say about that. But football, I think there are things that you can actually take away from this game. Like I said, against the number 2 ranked team in the country, that you can be like, okay, if we can hold on to those things, maybe get some guys back from injury. We'll see exactly when DJ comes back. You still need a running game, though, I think, to compete, and the absence of that really holds you back. But we know Keontae Lewis is talented on the outside. If the defense can be that type, can give us that type of performance, that's something to look forward to going forward.
Ryan, I know you were in Texas this weekend, but from what you've seen recapping this game, what are any more positives you think we could take away?
I mean, Jay Curry not looking bad is like the absolute best thing that you can take out of this game, because I haven't heard, I don't know if you guys have, but a timetable on DJ's return. We are on a bye this week, so he has a little extra time to heal up. But even if he's out for at least a couple more games, Curry is at least serviceable. I mean, not having a running game makes him look a lot worse, just because there's no help whatsoever from the run game.
Yeah.
But if he can get the ball out to Keontae Lewis, he can get it to Vincent Davis even some of the time, then we can at least not be completely inept on offense.
Yeah, this game was tough because it was like when he did throw it downfield, like guys would drop it or it would be over their heads or something like that.
Drops have been a problem recently.
It has. Even Keontae's had a couple drops. He didn't have. This is his first game, like his worst game production wise, you could say. But I don't know. It's hopefully DJ is back soon. I don't think our schedule coming out of the bye is too tough. I think Missouri State, our first 2 games out of the bye, Missouri State is probably the toughest opponent we'll have. But I think that there are definitely winnable games going forward before we play South Dakota State.
South Dakota State.
Yeah, something.
Where to play South Dakota? Yeah.
The Jackrabbits. I know the Jackrabbits, but
Yeah.
Jackrabbits.
State.
Yeah. Hopefully, you just keep building on what the blueprint on defense that you put out there. Maybe a better connection as the connection continue to grow with the receivers and Jay Curry, and eventually when DJ gets back as well.
So like Howard mentioned, we've got a bye coming up this week. We'll get back to more football stuff. We preview the next game next Monday. The final team of the week, a team that had been winning, or at least, well, maybe not winning, not losing up until this point, did take a loss this past Sunday at home, didn't they, Ryan?
They did. They took a 2-1 loss to UNI. It was on alumni weekend too, so that was a little unfortunate. But there were a few encouraging signs from this last week, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And that's been a place where Saluki soccer has really struggled this season. I mean, there have been games where they only get 5 shots. Against UNI, they had 23. Now, to be fair, only 2 of those were actually on goal, and that matters a lot more. I mean, you can rip a shot from half field, and as long as it goes out on the end line, it's probably going to count as a shot. But still, to me, having 23 shots, and then they had 15 in the game before that, like, if we can continue getting more opportunities at least, then that helps take a little pressure off our defense and really opens up the field and allows them to play a different, not necessarily, not necessarily a different style of soccer, because what they're doing is working for them. It makes them less one-dimensional, I guess you would say. It's kind of like football where, like, if you have a run game, it opens up the whole game for you. If you're able to just take more shots, then you can breathe for a second because the ball's at least stopping. You're not constantly in play. You're not always setting up for the next thing to happen. You're playing more ahead of the curve and not behind.
I think there's something to be said for, and I know this is a hockey term, it's probably a soccer term too, but for creating high danger chances in that, like putting the ball in front of the net, because it can bounce a lot of different ways depending on whose head it ends up hitting on a corner kick or whatever. So yeah, I think there's some value in that.
Yeah, there's a lot of value in that. And then you look back on their defensive stats again. I mean, they've just gotten even better in that respect. I mean, even in this game, it was a 2-1 loss. It wasn't like it was a 5-1. I mean, two goals, you're still in that game.
Yep.
Like, you are not out of it yet. And we're one of 2 teams in the MVC giving up less than 1 goal per game. We're like 8-1 or some crazy number like that. I can't imagine what this team would look like if we could play just even average offense.
Yeah.
Like NBC average offense, we'd probably be sitting at least 10 wins by now.
So that was our Dogs of the Vet segment. Of course, football has a bye, volleyball's on the road. And then soccer, they're playing Missouri State. Are they on the road or are they at home?
Most states at home,
States
Belmont
at
is
home.
on the road.
Belmont's on the road on Sunday. Interesting. Okay. I'm going to guarantee something. I'm going to guarantee that football's going undefeated this weekend. That volleyball's going undefeated this weekend. Don't know about soccer, but we'll see what happens. They may go undefeated, but they may also not win a game. So we'll see what happens. By the way, I did figure out how to calculate winning percentage with ties.
Oh, yeah?
The formula is 2 times wins plus ties over 2 times total games played times 100.
Everything times 100 or that bottom number?
Just the bottom number times 100.
Okay.
What's with the 2?
I think that's how you account for ties.
That would make sense.
Divide it, like half it almost, right?
Yeah.
So we're 2-1-3 in conference, so that would be 58.3%. So make of that what you will. Maybe write that down at home so you don't forget. All right, let's get into the Told You So segment. Tons to talk about. It's time for the Told You So segment. What a weekend in college football once again. And honestly, I think this upcoming weekend that we will get to at the end of the college football segment may end up actually being better. I mean, these last 3 weeks of college football have been absolutely unbelievable. This is exactly what we wanted heading into the season, I think, with all the conference realignment and stuff. It's been great. So much to get to. Let's quickly update the King Tut's Cup. I am still in the lead. I'm 31-18, 63.3% overall. The CPP, as Cole and Joey used to call it. Howard is 30-19, right behind me, 61.2, and Ryan is 28-21, 57.1%. Boys, we all went 6-2 last week.
Yeah.
How about that? So, folks,
Good.
we are hot. Okay, I wouldn't say we're the hottest podcast on earth. Now, if we do this again, we may be the hottest podcast on earth. So we'll see what happens. But all of us going 6-2 last week, and it's not like we all picked the same games. I mean, there's a lot of mixing and matching in there. So great week for the pod. Howard was our leader in college football. He went 2-1, and me and Ryan went 1-2. And unfortunately, one of those 2 losses, a loss that we all took. Last week was the Oregon Ducks defeating the Ohio State Buckeyes 32-31. Milestone game, we called it, and it lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
Let's just start with that. There's a lot of storylines, and I'm going to quickly run through a synopsis of a lot of the wild and crazy things that happened in this game, and then we can talk about it from there. So Oregon's best pass rusher, Jordan Burch, he's getting a lot of talk in NFL circles. He was out for this game. When I heard that, I was like, I didn't even know that women made the pick last week. So when I heard that, I'm like, yeah, it's sealed. We're good. But for some reason, the football gods meddled in this game, and they figured, no. We have to make this as even as possible. So in the first half, the football gods decide to injure Ohio State starting left tackle, who had been having his best season of his career so far, and the right guard to basically mitigate the impact of Oregon missing their best defensive end. And by the way, I was going to bring this up later, but Todd Blackledge, I believe, who works for NBC along with Noah Eagle, who is fantastic, by the way. Noah's incredible. He kept bringing up the fact that Oregon was without their defensive end all game. And I'm like, dude, we just lost our left tackle and right guard in the game. We couldn't even prepare our other guys for this. So I don't know why he kept bringing that up as if Oregon was just whatever. Anyway, wildly entertaining first half, and that's where most of this is going to come from, right? First drive of the game for Ohio State, we throw a seam route to our tight end. Tight end dives. He doesn't even kind of catch the ball. The ball bounces right into the Oregon player's hands as he's diving, but the call on the field was a catch for Ohio State, and we ran up and snapped the ball before they could even review the play. So we got away with something there. I mean, it was a good play, and it should have been a catch. Like, it's not one of those things where, like, Oregon made a good effort. It was just we screwed up, and we got rewarded for not making the play. So we go down and score a touchdown. Stop Oregon immediately. Get the ball back. Derek Harmon, their defensive tackle, literally rips the ball from Quinshon Judkins' hands. All of a sudden, Oregon gets it back. Oregon goes down and scores. It's 7-6, except they can't handle the snap on the extra point. And so, I don't know if you guys saw, but the freaking, the holder, I don't know if he's the punter or whatever, he ran out and, like, he tried to make a play. He threw up, like, a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar skyhook, and our safety caught it and almost took it back for a 2-point conversion. That would have been pretty cool. So then Oregon stops us. They get the ball back. The kicker misses a 44-yard field goal. It wasn't even close. Then we score a touchdown, 14-6. Oregon gets it back, and this was the point of the game where I started getting nervous because they were beating us on deep balls all night. With their wide receivers, Evan Stewart in particular was destroying Denzel Burke, and we'll get to Denzel Burke in a second because he did not have a great game, to say the least. But Evan Stewart hits a big play. Oregon, down by 2 now, because remember they missed the extra point opportunity, tries to go for 2, and they did one of these formations where it's like you put 3 people around the ball, and then you put like 5 dudes on the outside, on each side. You get what I'm envisioning here?
Yeah.
So they try to run this little like Fumblerooski crap or whatever, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'll just say this about Oregon. I know they won the game, so shout out to them. But it's always just weird with them. You saw this last game, and both times they played Washington last year. Dale Lanning's just a weird coach. I don't understand his mindset sometimes in the formations. He just tries to get too cute with it, honestly. So right after that, I'm thinking, okay, Ohio State's up 14-12. Hey, we get the ball back, go down and score again. It's going to be a 2-possession game. Oregon, and again, there's a lot of things that Oregon did in this game. I'm not sure if they did it on purpose or if it just happened to work out that way. But they do like a fake squib kick, and they kick it right into one of our up men, and it bounces right back into their hands. They get the ball back, and I was like, yep, this is just going to be one of those weird freaking games. So they get it back. They go down. Trayshawn Holden, their wide receiver. This is a big topic on every sports media show. At this point, you've heard a story about this. He makes a big catch. Oregon gets inside the 5. They run a play. He's in an argument with Davis Ignosin, our corner, and decides that the best course of action is to spit on him right in front of the ref. And I saw that and I'm like, okay, that's obviously unsportsmanlike conduct. I did not know that was an ejectionable play.
Oh,
college, really? In college,
It's an ejection. So he got ejected in the first half of the second quarter for spitting on the guy. And so that was a wild sequence, and Oregon, because of that, had to settle for a field goal. Now, the second half, it was 22-21 Oregon at halftime. Great first half. Second half was mostly normal until the very, very end of the game, and that's where I want to hear your guys' opinions mostly, among all the other things we've talked about. So Oregon has the ball. We're up 31-29. Oregon's driving down the field. I think they're at the 30, the 27-yard line maybe. They throw a deep ball. We couldn't hold their dudes from getting deep ball. Well, restart that sentence. Okay. We couldn't keep them from getting down the field all night, especially on these little quick release routes they were doing. We get a pass interference. It puts Oregon in field goal range, inside the 10 for a 1st and goal, which I actually think was a blessing in disguise because then with more than 2 minutes remaining and the 2-minute warning coming up, they were actually forced to try and score a touchdown as opposed to getting another 1st down, draining more time off the clock. So they end up settling for a field goal. Ohio State's defense holds in this game, and they kick a field goal, 32-31. Heading down the field, I'm sure this is the part that everyone knows what happened, right? Will Howard throws some incredible balls. We get down the field. We're inside the 30, and it was like the Georgia game in 2 years all over again. I saw somebody tweet, and this is hilarious. It's like, okay, you're in field goal range. Do anything but go backwards. Well, Ohio State, they went backwards. And for whatever reason, at the 28-yard line, they decide to pass the ball. With 30 seconds to go, they've got one timeout. Oregon got to keep all theirs. I'm thinking, okay, even if Oregon uses their timeouts, they're only going to have like 20 seconds left when they get it back, and then they're going to have none of them. That is if you make a field goal, of course. And then there was a pass interference call on Jeremiah Smith on another pass play. I don't love the call. Did you guys see the play?
I saw it. It's PI, and it's like
It is, yeah.
you do have to call it because, there's discussion this across all sports. It's like when a flag or foul happens, you have to call it no matter the situation. It wasn't super ticky tack to where like, you know what? I'll hold my whistle for that. I thought it was PI, and it's pretty tough push off to have there because I don't think Jeremiah Smith needs it necessarily.
No, he didn't. That corner was so much smaller than him too. I don't really understand why he felt the need to do that. So that play was with like 22 seconds left. Ohio State's down by 1. Now they're back at the 43-yard line, way out of field goal range. And they don't realize, and I didn't even realize this in the moment either, but the clock started running. And Will Howard didn't get the next snap off until like 13 seconds left. So that's 10 extra seconds off the clock. And Will Howard snaps it, throws an incomplete pass. And then, this is the final move of the night. Again, did Dan Lanning do this on purpose? Or was it an accident that worked out? Oregon, with 10 seconds left, decides, we're going to put 12 men on the field. And Ohio State doesn't get the play off, or doesn't get to do the play they wanted to. takes off 4 seconds. We do move up 5 yards, but we're still not in field goal range. Do we think Dan Lanning did that on purpose?
I don't think so.
You
I don't-
actually don't think so?
Giving up 5 yards, and you guys started your timeout, right?
So that time that I left, yeah.
Giving up 5 yards is pretty. That's, you want to talk about ballsy? That's pretty insane. An insane move to do if it was on purpose. But I don't think it was because that's such a huge risk to take at that spot of the field.
And it did put us back to the 38-yard line. And then finally, Will Howard pulls a Dak Prescott. And he decides to run straight with the ball with like 3 seconds left. Doesn't even get down until there's 1 second in it. And at that point, couldn't get the timeout off in time. And it was a pretty anticlimactic ending to what was, a really, really good game. So quickly, of those things that I just talked about, and those long tirades, I promise it's the only time I'm going to do that this year. It was just a crazy enough game to warrant it. Of the crazy things that I just mentioned, which one of these was the craziest for you guys to hear about?
I think you got to use your timeout somewhere. You don't want to go home leaving a timeout in your pocket necessarily. And especially maybe even after that 12 minutes on the field, it's like we need to get to this specific yard line. I know burning a timeout, but you have enough time on the clock for you to get out of bounds, throw a speed out or something to get out of bounds. And it kind of, I don't know, Will Howard just forgot how much time was on the clock or what, but like to put him in that position to make that play, I don't know. It's tough, and it's a pretty heart-wrenching loss for it to go down like that as well.
Yeah, Greaser, what did you see?
I just think any time that you hurt your team with something that just is so avoidable, like that's why unsportsmanlike conduct to me in football is the stupidest penalty you can get.
Yeah.
Because I get it. Like, this is a massive game. It's a 2-3 matchup. Like, probably one of the best, if not the best game we'll see all year. And emotions are high. Like, I get it. But that's just one of the most boneheaded things you can possibly do. Thank goodness Oregon won that game. Because if they didn't, he's already getting hate for that.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount, how much worse it would be, he should be thanking his lucky stars that they won.
That's a good point. That's a really, really good point. So again, a couple of football things, then we'll move on. Because listen, I don't want to take too much time on this game because I still think Ohio State's a better team. I would pick us again to win that game in a heartbeat. I think if we meet again in Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship, I think we win. And the run game was great in the first half, and then the offensive lineman got hurt. Travion Henderson had a really big run early in the contest. He was looking great. Judkins, there's a lot of people saying he may have been playing hurt because he didn't look as good as he usually does. He wasn't as shifty. Honestly, I could believe that because he really didn't look the same. Earlier I mentioned Denzel Burke. I want you to tell me if this is a good stat line. 8 catches for 179 yards. For a wide receiver, that's a great game.
It's amazing.
For a corner,
Oh my god.
that's like lose your scholarship.
Is it 8 catches on 8 targets?
8 catches on 8 targets.
Oh.
Targeted 8 times.
Hey, he might be a Saluki next year at that rate.
Be a Saluki next year.
The first one where he got the touchdown, the first one.
Yeah.
He has no safety help.
No.
So you clearly have that deep zone.
Yeah.
He just got caught flat-footed.
He did.
Because I don't understand that play specifically at all when I saw it.
Yeah, he was bad. And now I've seen people on Twitter, of course, and make of it what you will, but these are like former coaches that I'm talking about, who are smarter than me, saying that he only got like torched 3 times, but you can't get torched 3 times in a game like this. Like, I understand, maybe he didn't play as bad as people thought he did, or as the stats say, but still, you can't get torched like that.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, heading into that last drive, I've said this before, we were down by 1, I get it, you only need a field goal. I feel like we would have had a better chance of scoring if we needed a touchdown. Does that make sense at all?
That
Like,
makes
you
sense.
just keep powering down the field and don't try to
Because-
get into the situational game where you
Yeah.
like box yourself into certain play
Because
calls.
you're trying to hit a specific yard line to get the field goal versus,
Exactly.
hey, we've done this in practice before. We're 2-minute drill,
Exactly.
trying to go 80 yards or whatever it is. So
And we got down there in like 30 seconds, and we were already at the 28-yard line. 2 plays, we could have been in the end zone. So I don't know, man. Like I said, it was just like the Georgia game in so many different ways. I would pick us to win, and I really do think Will Howard played an incredible game. He was making throws that I just didn't think he was capable of making. But him and the receivers were great. Mega Ibuku was great. Jeremiah Smith made a couple other really, really big plays. Will Howard, there were a couple. He mishandled a snap when we were winning once. that was a bad play, but I still think he was incredible. Yeah, it sucked. Ruined my Saturday night, but
I do, and I guess we'll talk about it when we do our poll a little later. But like, and you brought this up the last time we were in this room. Actually, this blind coaching stat with Ryan Day. And,
Yeah.
What do you have to say? Because this game was winnable.
Yeah.
Even with all the crazy stuff that happened in this game.
Yeah.
Ryan Day is losing these games, and what is your thought? Because you are saying you'll pick them in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And you're still confident in the team, but like this, they haven't showed you necessarily that they can win at the big game.
You know what's interesting is like a lot of these games have been on the road, and or when we played Georgia, that was in Atlanta, which is basically a Georgia home game, right? You know, I just feel like if we played them again, like I just don't see us being down and being in this situation again. Like I'm so confident we're better than them, and again, we're not that much better, but I think we're better enough than Oregon to be the team on the other side of that equation. Not having to worry about time or whatever. So yeah, I think that's really that's part of it. I just think this team is better than what they've shown in terms of the team in the past being down. I think this 2024 squad is a little bit different in that regard. And again, you're going on the road at probably the top 3 loudest stadium in the country. I mean, that place was packed. They were going wild the entire time. So yeah, I mean, I love what I saw in terms of that. I wasn't really discouraged by anything outside of maybe defensively. Denzel Burke and our defensive coordinator, I think, deserves a lot of blame too, because all the big games that he's coached in, I think I saw a stat like 6 of the 7 top 5 games he's been in, like he's allowed 500 or more yards. His defense has you can't do that.
So
there was one that first touchdown you were talking about.
Yeah.
We rushed 2 guys.
2?
Yeah.
2 guys, and we were playing man-to-man
and you
defense.
still got beat down the field.
And we still got beat down the field because there were 4 guys covering 1 running back out of the field too. If you look at a screenshot, it was despicable. It was embarrassing.
Your pass rush was pretty lackluster too.
It was, and don't get me started on Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau. They came back for their senior year. These were like 2 of the highest rated defensive ends we've ever had in 2021, and they've been very, very embarrassing. I mean, they've been flat out embarrassing. They don't show up in big games. So yeah. Let's get into some other games real quickly. Penn State, huge win against USC, a game that they looked like they were going to lose early on. They're down 20-6 in that one, but I'm honestly not buying what I watched from Penn State. A lot of their good offensive plays they had was a lot of trick plays. You guys see the tight end, Tyler Warren, which he had like the best game of his life. He was a center on one play and ended up catching a 40-yard touchdown. I mean, it was cool to watch. I don't know that you can do that against every team, but the fact that Penn State was able to at least muster up some offense. I mean, you saw against Illinois a few weeks ago that they couldn't do much of anything, especially throwing the ball. So I mean, it's a good game, but again, we know USC. They're pretty soft up front. I think they were able to take advantage of that. And of course, in overtime, USC misses a field goal. Penn State gets it back, gets 6 yards, and scores. So it's a good win for Penn State, one that they desperately needed because Ohio State is coming to town to kick some butt in 2 weeks. We'll get to that. We'll get to that when that game comes. We also had Ole Miss and LSU, and this was a big game for our picks because you two both took LSU. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm just going to say this in a little sneak peek for our poll later. The Ole Miss choked this game. I mean, they were up by a touchdown late, and really LSU hadn't really been able to move the ball like that all night, but they allowed a 4th and 5 touchdown to Anderson, the wide receiver. I think they were at the 20, and it was a 4th and 5 through to the end zone. And then after Ole Miss, which that was one of the worst. Again, it was like Nebraska a few weeks ago when they played Illinois. In overtime, Ole Miss goes back to what? They ended up kicking a 57-yard field goal. In overtime, when you start at the 25, why are you kicking a 57-yard field goal? Well, their kicker nailed it. So they should thank him for that. But then LSU gets it back, and on the first play, Kyron Lacey bullies a dude and catches it in the end zone. One of the easier touchdown catches you'll ever see at the first play of overtime. And, Ole Miss, man, they just found a way to choke it. Like, they had a holding call, a false start, drop catches. Like, it was just embarrassing the way that they choked that. So, shout out to you guys for nailing the LSU game. LSU, I think them and Oregon, 2 of the best home environments in the country. I think that had a big part as to why they were able to win both of those games. And then, Colorado, Kansas State. I actually still respect Colorado. I know they lost the game 31-28. Ryan, did you see the no call in the PI late in that game? So again, this was another that and the Jeremiah Smith pass interference call. Big debates on Saturday night, and then really for all of Sunday. I think it was fourth and was it fourth? I think it was 4th and 5, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was because it was the last.
4th and 5 for Colorado. Well, there are a lot of people who were saying, "Hey, why are you calling a deep ball on 4th and 5 when you only need 5 yards?" I think there was still like a minute and a half left in the game too, but K-State gets away with some hand fighting. I don't think it was the most obvious PI in the world, but I mean, did you think it should be called?
It's kind of saying I wouldn't have called it. I don't think. Like
You think you would?
I think he got his head turned around enough to where like he made an effort to what they say catch the ball necessarily. So I don't think it was egregious, and I don't even think it was like Colorado called the deep ball. I think they should have taken that risk and throwing it down the field. And maybe even he tried to get a PI call. Knowing that's what a lot of corners are susceptible to doing stuff like that. But it's tough for the loss, and like you said, respect to Colorado because Travis Hunter did not play in the second half of this game. To still be in it that late, have a chance to win it. They were actually winning late winning, and then their defense did the thing again. So I don't know, but like you said, respect to Colorado for still being this one.
And I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but they seem to have turned a corner. Colorado did, truthfully. And then lastly, I just want to say, Vanderbilt won again. On the road this time at Kentucky, they were 2 touchdown underdogs in this game, and they went in and won 20-13. I'm not gonna say they're a good team, okay? So the same thing I said last week, but the fact that they've won 2 games in a row like this now, and Kentucky's one of those teams that played Georgia really well earlier in the season. They went on the road and beat Ole Miss, and then they moved to Vandy. Again, maybe Vandy's good, who knows? But I'll have to see a little bit more before I officially believe it. Now, I've been waiting for this all week. I think you guys are going to be excited about this too. I decided, you know what, we're over halfway through the college football season now. We've reached actually the halfway point of the season. So let's put together what I'm calling the Daily Egyptian Casters Pool. And that's a ripoff of the USA Today Coaches Pool. I basically just switched around some of the wording. So this is our official Daily Egyptian Casters Pool. I had myself, Howard, and Ryan submit a top 15, and then where I was going to take the average rankings and assign a point value to them, compile that into a top 10. So here's your top 10. Number 10, Tennessee Volunteers come in. They got 17 points. Number 9, Ole Miss. Despite everything that they've been through, despite the fact that they have lost 2 horrible games, is still in the top 10, believe it or not. At number 8, the team that just beat Ole Miss, the LSU Tigers, come in with 20 points. Number 7, the Penn State Nittany Lions, a team that is in the AP, is in the top 3. I can't wait to hear some of the takes on this. But so far, again, we have Tennessee, Ole Miss, LSU, Penn State. Number 6, the Alabama Crimson Tide, after a very close game with South Carolina. We'll get to more of that when we do the picks. But Alabama comes in; they're still number 6. Number 5, the Miami Hurricanes, and this is where it gets a little bit of a more clear cut here at the top. Miami comes in at number 5 with 31 points, just one above Alabama at 30. And then, I'll just spoil it here, we all had the exact same top 4s. Georgia's 4, Oregon 3, Ohio State 2. So I do like that you guys are with me on that. You think Ohio State would probably win on a neutral field. And then, of course, the number 1 team in the country, the only team in the country that has yet to show really any sort of vulnerabilities. Now, granted, they haven't really played a team that would do that.
Right.
They're going to this week, so this is definitely subject to change. But the Texas Longhorns, all 3 of us had us as the number 1 team with 45 points and all 3 first place votes. Now, I'll go ahead and put this in the doc so you guys can look at it and analyze it. But I'm going to give a quick shout out to the other teams that received votes. Clemson just missed the cut. They had 15 points. They were number 11. Iowa State, undefeated. They're in at 12 with 14. Texas A&M had 11. Excuse me. I'm burping a lot for some reason. Sorry. Texas A&M had 11 points. They're at 13. Notre Dame, who beat Texas A&M, right behind them at number 14. BYU, I hate to say it, but they actually might be a good team. They come in at number 15. And then 2 teams that had 1 15th place vote, Kansas State and Boise State. Shout out to Ashton Genty. So for you guys, what part of the top 10 do you agree with the most? What part do you disagree with the most as compared to your rankings?
I think you know what I don't agree with here.
What don't you agree with?
Penn State. I had them. Where did I have them on list. I have Penn State at 10, which was probably too high. But and the AP poll is just insane, having Penn State at 3.
Yeah, that's
There is
insane,
no chance that they should be number 3. I mean, I guess 10, I feel like 10 is about the right spot. I can live with 7, but they have not beaten like teams of note. Illinois, I'm not calling them a team of note because Illinois should probably not be ranked this week anyway after that horrible game they played against Purdue. But Penn State didn't beat Illinois that bad, and that's the best team they played.
Yeah.
Like, and then just barely beating USC the way that they did. That one, the hate for Penn State for me is at an all-time high.
And that rhymed.
I'm kind of in the middle because I put them at 6. And, like, you're right, they haven't played anybody, but, like, still finishing games, still finding a way to win. That leaves some note. I just, like you said, the AP poll having them at 3 is unreal. My biggest thing is, I think you guys have Georgia above Alabama, right?
Yes.
That's the
I did.
Yeah.
crazy game. Like, it's probably the game of the year a couple weeks ago when they played each other. But I believe Bama will bounce back in some form. I think I would still pick them to beat Georgia if they match up again. So,
Did that game against South Carolina not worry you at all?
well, the last 2 weeks, honestly,
Right. I mean,
give reason for concern. But, like, I don't know. I have to see Georgia again go out there against a good team again and actually beat them. And we'll see that this week when they play Texas, who you could also argue they haven't played anybody, but they've been dominant in their wins.
Yeah, I think for me and the team that I'm much higher on than everybody else, I have Clemson at 6, which is,
Okay.
I mean, it sounds crazy, but really after the top 4, after Texas, Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, for me at least the way I see it, or sorry, I said we all had the same top 4. Alabama had or Howard had Alabama at 4, Georgia at 5. My mistake on that. But outside of those top 4, and you can put, if you want to throw Bama in there, you can. How confident are you in any other team in this country?
Absolutely.
Not really. And to
No.
me, Clemson has looked the best since we've won. They've been blowing the crap out of everybody that they've played. So, what? What, Greaser?
Nothing.
Is that funny, Greaser?
I don't think they haven't anybody either.
I mean, I know Clemson is Clemson, and they haven't been themselves in a while, but I don't know. I think they figured something out, and they don't really play a tough schedule either. I think their toughest game is at Pittsburgh later this season, so I could definitely see them running the table for the rest of the way out and go 11-1, make the ACC championship, and probably play Miami, which that would be an unbelievably exciting game to watch. So I don't know. I think that's where my difference is, but I guess I have Ole Miss at 7-2. I weirdly still believe in them for no real reason at all.
Yeah.
Though there's nothing on the field that I can point to. It's just kind of a blind faith that they're going to start playing better. But anyway, so that's your Daily Egyptian Casters Bowl. Just a quick recap: Texas, Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Miami, Alabama, Penn State, LSU, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. Let's get to talking about some of these teams on our first official blind reveal week for our picks. And we're going to start off where everybody knew we would be starting off in week 8. Bloomington, Indiana, where the Indiana Hoosiers, undefeated, ranked number 16, are 6.5-point favorites over the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And boys, it's blind reveal week. We're going to start with Ryan Greaser, Mr. Big Ten, as they call him, who is winning this game at 11 a.m. on Fox. It's big noon. Gus and Joel will be on the call. Give it to me, Ryan.
Give me Indiana in this game. Give me Indiana in this game.
I want Iguodala.
I want Indiana. That's what I want. I want Indiana in this game. So, Nebraska, they had a really nice start to the season, and they haven't played bad. But to me, Nebraska is a team that's still a year out.
Yeah.
Like, we've talked about that a lot in our baseball segment, but that kind of applies to Nebraska as well. They're a year out. I mean, Matt Rule, it's his first year there. They're playing well enough. Like, they're staying in games. This is not the Nebraska of old
Right.
that's just going to go out and lose by 20 every week. They're at least going to make it halfway competitive. But Indiana has just looked so surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Give me Indiana. I didn't think a whole lot on this one.
Yeah, overall, I've been pretty bad on my college football picks. Honestly, I do like this college pick'em game where it's like 10 games a week. I've been terrible so far, and so for me, I'm not gonna try to outsmart the room this week and pick Nebraska. Okay, I'm going to just be normal. Look at the numbers. Look at the spread. Look at the home team with all the intrigue and all momentum in the world. I'm going to go with Ryan Greaser. I'm also going to take Indiana to win this game.
Yeah, I didn't think too much on this one either. Nebraska did look good coming out the gate, but I think Raiola has struggled a little bit. Indiana has a good defense, and along with Kirk and Eddie and how explosive their offense is looking, I don't see a world where Nebraska goes into Indiana and beats them at home. So
I agree.
Rolling with the Hoosiers as well.
I agree. Most anticipated game on this podcast of the next week. Shout out to my brother who will be at this game. He is, unfortunately, a University of Michigan fan, ranked number 24. And the line on this game, when I put this in yesterday, it was Michigan -1. It is all the way up to Michigan -3.5 now. Going on the road to take on the Illinois Fighting Illini, Ryan's Fighting Illini, who were destroying Purdue in the first half of last week's contest. And then I blink, and I get a text from my grandmother, of all people, asking me if Illinois won. So I'm like, yeah, obviously. So I get out my phone, I look, 50-49 in overtime. What the heck happened?
It's just so crazy that they can blow a 28-point lead so quickly. And this defense, that was what was shocking to me, was this defense has not looked that bad this year. I mean, Illinois has been carried by their defense all year. And doing that against Purdue, like, are you kidding me? I mean, they found a way to win, and closing out a game and getting a win is what matters. But that significantly hurt my confidence in them heading into this week. Now, that being said, I'm still rocking with them to beat Michigan. I think you guys knew exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I'm a homer. I am. I see Jordan is not rocking with me, but that's okay. It's okay. I'll stand. Even Howard, if you don't, I get it. I'm standing on Illinois. They're ranked 22. They should. If it were me, I wouldn't have ranked them in this week.
Yeah.
They certainly shouldn't have moved up because Purdue has just been awful. It's a feeling that I have. It's more if our defense, not our defense, if our offense can step up and do enough. Because I'm not concerned. Michigan's offense is awful.
Yeah.
And our defense is our strength. It's just, can our offense generate enough? And I'm going to say that yes, they do. It is not going to be a blowout. It's probably going to be a really low scoring game. This could be like
Very much so.
This could be a 17-14 game.
Yeah.
Like old school looking football. And Illinois win is what we're going to have.
Now listen, I want to make the win percentage of this pot as high as possible. So Howard, I'm going to give you a padlock stat. Okay. Now, have you made up your mind on who's going to win this game already?
The thing is, this is one of the two games that I could be swayed on, but I have the pick in my mind.
Tell me the pick, and then do you want the stat first, or do you want to give me the pick first?
Okay, so I am picking Michigan.
Okay, good. Okay, good. I'm going to give you a stat. Purdue. Is Purdue a good team? No, they're terrible. Don't even answer that. I know the answer. Okay. Purdue's terrible. They sacked Luke Altmaier 5 times last week. You know, Michigan doesn't do a lot of things well, but one position that they are probably elite at is the defensive line. I think they're going to have a field day. I think they're going to make Luke Altmaier's day pretty rough. Now, Michigan offensively, they may have just as bad of a day as Illinois is about to have.
Right.
So I'm not making this Michigan pick with any sort of confidence. Again, it's an envision it game. With how bad Illinois played last week, I feel like Michigan's going to want to expose that. And I hate Michigan with all of my being, but I think personnel-wise they match up pretty well with what Illinois is going to want to do. So give me the Wolverines, but I don't like the pick. I don't like the pick.
The thing is, like, whoever wins this game is going to have to win on their terms.
Definitely.
If it's low scoring, I'm pretty sure Michigan, I'm confident in them to pull that one out. But if it's high scoring, you've seen Luke Altmaier light it up. Yeah, to where I think you could win a shootout where Jack Tuttle has looked better than Alex Orji behind under center, but he's still kind of unproven against, as we talked about, Ryan, that Illinois defense. I'm not too confident in his ability to match Illinois if they are in a shootout, if it is high scoring. But I do believe that Michigan will bounce back of sorts. Illinois, they looked so out of sorts last week. I don't know what happened with them. It will be a crazy bounce back for them to win this game, but I'm rolling with the Wolverines.
Now, I'm going to invoke these for the last 3 games. We'll start with this one. Ryan Greaser, public betting percentages, Michigan and Illinois. If you had to guess, what would you think the public is saying? Because again, this is a team that the public probably hates both of them. from if you want to put your money on, I wouldn't put my money on either of these teams
No.
really, but they are playing each other, so you have to pick one. Who do you think the majority of people are picking?
Majority, and I'm going to go with big majority, like 85% are putting money on Michigan.
You almost nailed that. It's 87% on Michigan. What made you think that?
The fact that Michigan has been such a national brand, like your casual bettor is going to be like, oh, duh, Michigan. And then also, after Illinois' performance last week, for the more serious bettors, they're going to be like, oh, Lord, I do not want any part of that.
Right.
So
It's a great way to think about it. Game number 3. And I was going to call this, all year I was thinking, okay, this is going to be a milestone game. But now, it's more of a loser leaves town game for me than anything else, because both of these teams have some pretty tough games left on their schedule. Alabama, ranked number 7, is 2.5-point favorite at Tennessee. Saturday, 2:30 p.m. on ABC. Howard, you are the resident Alabama, not fan, but you think they're better than I think most of the country does. So go ahead and take this one.
Well, this is the thing. Like, can they bounce back? Can they look better than they had the last 2 weeks? Because they're kind of reeling right now. People are starting to point towards the absence of Nick Saban, where you play a super close game that you should not be close in with South Carolina. Tennessee's front 7 can really wreck this game. Like, they can really get after Jalen Milroe and force him to be under a lot of pressure to where you get the ball back to your offense. Dylan Sampson's had a really good year in the backfield to where they could control this game, especially being at home. But I'm expecting a bounce back defensively. We talked about Alabama's defense the last, 6 quarters dating back to the Georgia game where they looked really bad, giving up a lot of points. But I'm expecting them to bounce back. Like 3 in a row is pretty crazy to where this is kind of a must-win game. Like you said, it could be for both teams, but I think Bama needs it more to really put a statement and show that they're the team, that they don't need Nick Saban, so to speak.
Ryan Greaser.
yeah, Howard, you hit it right on the head. Bama has to look good this week. Otherwise, if they were to lose this game, voters are going to have no confidence in them to put them in the college playoff. And I don't think that Bama is going to let that happen.
Right.
Especially with it being Callan. Here's a name. His name, DeBauer?
You got it right the first time.
DeBauer?
Mhm.
All right, I'm surprised.
There you go.
I can sometimes get names here.
Good job, Ryan.
So,
With it being Callan DeBoer's first year,
Wait a minute. No, what's his first name?
Callan?
Kalen.
Okay, here we go.
You got the last name. I was so excited for him. I'm like, there's no way you can get
so
this.
I had a guy named Callan with it spelled like that.
Shout out Callan.
So shout out Callan, you'll never see this, but that's a whole nother thing. With it being Kalen DeBoer's first year,
There you go.
he succeeding Nick Saban was never going to be an easy task, and I would say he's honestly done a pretty good job at it. But he has to really show up in the rest of SEC play, especially against a team like Tennessee that has really been kind of slowly climbing the last few years to challenge for long-term dominance there.
Yeah.
He can't let them get a victory against him in his first year.
I think this is a case where both of these teams, since their losses, right, to Vanderbilt and to Arkansas, really looked ahead their last week's opponents. You saw Tennessee probably should have lost to Florida. Bama could have just as easily lost to South Carolina. They had a couple balls bounce their way in that game, and if they didn't, who knows? Here's the thing: I'm looking at both sides of the ball. I worry about Jalen Milroe throwing the ball. Really, I do, especially against this great Tennessee front 7, like we've mentioned. And Bama's defense has been porous lately. Just absolutely porous. South Carolina was running the ball all over them. Their quarterback, Lenore Stellers, he's been injured, and they were still able to run the ball on them and throw at times too. So you know what? Because they're at home, I'm actually going to go with Tennessee in this game, and I'm going to trust that front 7. I'm going to trust, and again, this is blind faith, but I am going to trust that their offense can finally get something figured out because they've been pretty crappy lately. They've been bad. Dylan Sampson's running the ball well, but Nico Iamaleava, something's wrong in his head, it seems like, when he's out there. He just doesn't really know what he's doing, but he does have all the talent. I think because they were overlooking Florida last week, I think they're going to be zoned in on this game and beat Alabama. But again, not too much confidence. And then,
you almost swayed me. You were close.
Hey, a couple weeks ago when Washington beat Michigan,
Yeah.
I did sway you guys there. But
You did sway me on this one.
Yeah, come over, Green.
It's Tennessee time.
Tennessee time.
Which I'm not gonna say I hate it because I'm just not a big SEC guy anyway. But it's yeah, Tennessee. You got me.
All right, let's go.
I'm definitely gonna stay on this side now because like I need to pick up some ground.
Well, also, and you had them ranked 4th
Yeah,
in your ranking. Like, you gotta stay on business.
Of
All right,
course,
stay on
of
business.
course.
All right, last game. This is easily going to be the best game of the week. Now, I will say, the number 5 Georgia Bulldogs, who are 3.5-point underdogs, their coach should be suspended for this game. Kirby Smart decided to shove the Mississippi State quarterback, Michael Van Buren, for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't even think he meant to shove him specifically, but it happened. There hasn't really been much talk about it either, which is weird. But I think a lot of people have seen it by now. They're going on the road at Texas, and I think that this is a safe game to mark as a milestone game. Milestone game number 3 of the season, Georgia and Texas. We haven't seen Texas play really a great team yet. We all thought it might be Michigan, but clearly they're not. Texas destroyed Oklahoma last week. Georgia let up 31 points to Mississippi State, a bad Mississippi State team, mind you. I mean, this is a Mississippi State team that Florida went into their house and destroyed, and we all know how bad Florida is. Georgia, Texas. I'm going to let Ryan Greaser kicks off on this one because I think I know where I'm going, but I want to hear you guys talk before I make my pick.
Yeah, you're not really changing my mind at all once you said about Georgia's last week, and especially Quinn Ewers came back and just continued his dominance over Oklahoma. And did you guys see funny side note on that game, did you guys see the flag plant?
Yeah.
Like putting it through Baker's jersey?
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, come
They
on.
asked
even
Baker
play
about it
there
too.
anymore.
Yeah.
It was like almost 10 years ago.
They
They
asked
asked Baker about it too, and he was like,
What?
"They're just in my head. I mean, I'm just in their head. I guess."
Referee.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like 8 years later. But anyway, Texas and Quinn Ewers, they've not played anybody, but they have never looked bad or under pressure or scared of anything this season.
Yeah.
They have just been so calm and cool in every single game. And Georgia has looked vulnerable. I mean, Bama was whopping up on them until like the third quarter of that game.
They were what?
Whopping up on them.
Pumping up on them. Okay. I've heard that.
WHOMPIN.
I just didn't know that's what you said, but I do like that word. Yes.
Yeah, I love that word in sports. Yeah, Georgia just hasn't been the Georgia of old. Kind of like I was saying a few weeks ago about the Clemson of old, and they're starting to prove me wrong. Look out. But Texas, they have given me no reason. They're kind of like the Chiefs right now. They give me no reason to not pick them. So we're going to go with Texas.
Yeah, I think Georgia, this could easily be a high-scoring affair. Texas's defense is a little improving, I think, to where this will be a good read on how good they actually are because Carson Beck can sling it around the field a little bit. So I'm also rolling with the Longhorns. They're at home. They've been so dominant. They haven't faltered really at all. So, like we said, I'm going to roll with Texas in this one and beat Georgia.
I really, really want to pick Georgia. I've been thinking about this. I really, really want to pick Georgia.
The thing about Georgia is, like, Kirby Smart, I just feel like he finds a way to win games like this to where
I agree.
I said I could be swayed, and I'm a little not too swayed at this point, but, like, I wouldn't be shocked if they won this game is the thing.
See, the problem is I can't do what I just did with Alabama, Tennessee. Like, I can't. There's no football reason I can give for why I would want to pick Georgia because they've looked bad even since the Bama game. They looked bad against Mississippi State last week. Their offense was better, but I think Texas, just like you guys said, they're rolling right now. And I think because this game's at home, I think it gives them even more fuel. If this game was at Georgia, I'd probably pick Georgia. But because it's at Texas, I think we're due for a really, really good game. But we'll go with the consensus here. I am going to reluctantly pick Texas, even though I really want to pick Georgia so bad. So, great week of college football ahead of us. Like we mentioned, Nebraska at Indiana. We all went with the Hoosiers. Michigan at Illinois. Howard and I went with the Wolverines. Ryan went with his hometown. Illinois Fighting Illini. Bama, Tennessee. Ryan switched over to Tennessee after my little spiel. Howard is staying strong on Alabama. Then we're all going to go to Texas in another milestone game against Georgia. It should be another fantastic week. Let's go to the professional right now. it's time for the NFL. We're not even going to do a transition. Let's just get right into it. Ryan Greaser, what do we always start off with?
We start with winners on this show.
Wow, I didn't think you were going to say that.
We start with winners,
Very fair.
which means that we will not be starting with Howard Seahawks this week. Sorry. Jordan, would you like to go first or shall I?
Oh, well, your team won by more, didn't they? By 2 points
Yes.
more, technically.
Did they?
What was the score?
I think it was 34-13.
Yeah, so then you win.
Okay, let's
I'll
go.
let you go because your team won by more.
All right then. Well, Packers Nation. Jay Love is back.
That's right.
Jay Love is back. I wouldn't say concerned after last week. I mean, I think I even said it on the pod. I was like, well, I don't feel that bad just because he's coming back from injury. He's back. He had a nice day. 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. That's just kind of the Jordan Love experience. He's always going to be a guy where if he doesn't throw a pick in a game, there's going to be several plays where you're like, oh, that should have been a pick. So, he's not Aaron Rodgers where if he does throw a pick, it's like, what happened? So I'm kind of past that part anymore. I love the balance of the game. Like, we ran the ball more than we passed. We ran the ball 38 times. Now, I did not love Josh Jacobs. Horribly inefficient, once again. 3.7 yards per carry. This is just, I am praying that I need to look at his contract and see how many guaranteed years he has and see if they can get out of this anytime soon. Because he's just not, Josh Jacobs is not the guy. I didn't like it when they signed him. I've said, I think almost every week that I don't like Josh Jacobs. I'm standing on business. I don't like him. I like the rest of the run game. They got Bo Melton involved. They got, I'm losing his name, backup running back, whatever. His name starts with an E. And I'm just losing it right now. Anyway, he had 8 carries, I think, for almost 40 yards. 5 yards a carry on that math. I mean, that's solid. I like having the change of pace in there. Josh Jacobs does not need to carry the ball every time. He has not shown, outside of that one crazy game, that he should. There was a bit of a balancing act from the receivers. Apparently, Romeo Doubs getting upset worked for him. He didn't have the yards. I think he only had 39 or 49 yards receiving, but he still had 2 touchdowns. So Good for him. He's back. He's involved. The rest of the receivers, I don't think anybody had over 70 yards.
Christian Watson had a nice catch, though.
He did. Christian Watson, he had his one highlight reel catch. Okay, so we're on the second quarter of the season now. He has that one crazy catch every part of the season that makes you remember, Christian Watson. He's still here.
So in 4 weeks, he'll have another.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty
He
much.
won't do anything until then.
Not much, no.
Okay.
No. That's just kind of the
I see
experience
that one,
with
the
him.
next one's coming. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. The rest of the receivers, I mean, they really didn't have that guy go off this week. Jaden Reed was really quiet, did what he had to do. Dobbs caught 2 touchdowns. Tucker Kraft had 1 catch or something after his great week last week. Paid for it in fantasy. I started him this week, so that was unfortunate. Instability on special teams. Braden Averson missed another kick.
What's up with you guys with kickers?
Dude, Mason Crosby, I know why they cut him, because he was old and he just didn't have range anymore. And the season that he had was not very good anyway. I mean, he was single-handedly the reason they lost to the Lions that year, missing 5 kicks in a game.
Yeah.
But they've just found nothing since then. And it's just come on. We can't find teams. They bring in a guy off the street and they can be better than Braden Averson. At this point, we got to start looking into that. Defense looked good. Xavier McKinney's amazing streak of an interception in every game unfortunately ended. But Jair, he clamped down. Did you guys see the play where he basically threw Marv on the ground and then hit his celebration right after?
Oh, yes. I almost saw it, but I started doing something else. So I just...
He almost wanted to look at it. Nah, screw that.
Yeah,
Bro, I have Marvin Fantasy, so when he was out for the game, I was... I'm about to lose a close one, too, so it was
A lot of mid-game injuries this week.
It really
in
were.
the NFL.
Yeah.
there were. Staying in the NFC North. We'll go over to Jordan.
Well,
Let's hear about the Bears.
hey, man. It's there's 2 sides to this story the way you can look at it. The Bears haters are going, hey, it's the Jags. Yeah, okay. On the other side of this, the Jags were favored in this game. I don't know if many people realize that.
Which was insane.
The Jags,
I don't.
the Bears started out the week as favorites, but then for whatever reason, it just swung all
This chair is broken.
swung all the way. You can switch it out if you want.
That's fine.
It swung all the way to the Jags being favored before this. So clearly, I mean, everybody thought it was going to be a close game, and then the Bears go out and dominate, and then you look at the Jags' record, it's like, well, yeah, of course they're supposed to dominate them. But again, when you're a good team, I'll say this the day I die, when you're a good team and you go up against a bad team, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to dominate them. Now, to be fair, this game could have been a lot, maybe not a lot, but maybe a little bit closer if the Jags didn't drop so many balls.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas looked like he just got out of bed in this game. And he was bad. Gabe Davis was good. Gabe Davis was
He
good.
dropped some too.
He dropped, but he ended up having a couple touchdowns after that. I mean, he at least made up for it on the back end. But there's so many good things to come out of this game. We were obviously missing Jaquan Brisker and Tyreek Stevenson, so the fact that we were able to hold them down to that total was, I thought, pretty impressive. DeAndre Swift, this man is on a revival tour right now. I love the way that Shane Waldron's using him lately as a weapon, not only in the backfield, but also out of the backfield as a pass catcher. The offensive line has actually been much better. I believe I saw a stat that they were like the 27th best offensive line in the first couple of weeks. And then the last 3 weeks, they've been like the 13th. So, I mean, I still don't think it's good. I still think they have a lot of work to do, guys that need to come back from injury. But they're getting better. And along with that, of course, the main story is Caleb Williams. He's obviously getting better. That one play that Shane Waldron drew up that I guess was Packers fans were very quick to remind me that it was like the exact same play that Matt LaFleur ran last year.
The thing is, so it was 2022.
Oh, okay.
We were playing the 49ers. Shane Waldron was our OC.
Oh, really?
Kyle Shanahan ran that on us. And then
yeah.
Waldron used it last year on the 49ers.
Really?
On primetime.
That is funny.
Then he used it yesterday.
That is funny. And who did Caleb Williams throw that touchdown to? Cole Kmet, who was part-time long snapper in the game yesterday. He caught 2 touchdowns, and then he long snapped 5 different balls, and they were all perfect and online, and perfect for Cairo Santos to kick them in. So shout out to Cole Kmet, doing a little bit of everything. Hopefully we don't have to do that anymore. But I know Pat Scales has been out. I think his name was Eric Daly or something. He got hurt in the middle of the game, so Cole came in and he did an unbelievable job. Also love seeing Keenan get involved. Keenan Allen had 2 touchdowns. He's 32, but he hasn't lost a step when it comes to how quick his feet are and getting off the line in short yardage situations. He dusted, I can't remember who the corner was, but on the fade route touchdown that he caught, he dusted whatever corner that is. And I think it's one of those weird things where getting open as a receiver is not as much about how fast you are, it's about how quick your feet are and how quickly you can change direction. Keenan Allen's, he's honestly one of the best to ever do it when it comes to that aspect of the game in particular. And yeah, all those things combined to help Caleb. He seems a lot more comfortable, and I know we haven't played any good teams. I think I saw in terms of winning percentage, we've played the second easiest schedule so far. Believe it or not, the team that's played the easiest schedule is the Miami Dolphins. As crazy as that seems, but they've also contributed to other teams' schedules being easy, so make of that what you will. But we've taken advantage. We're 4-2, have a bye week this week, and then we have a 3-game stretch where we play the Commanders, Cardinals, and Patriots. Oof. Who's to say we couldn't go 2-1 in that stretch, maybe even 3-0?
I think you could go 3-0.
We could go 3-0. The Commanders are still a team that I think people are trying to figure out if it was just a little flash in the pan in the beginning of the season. So we'll see what happens, but man, a lot of things to be excited about. Let's just get healthy during this bye week, and then we'll come back and play Commanders next week.
For both of you guys, you obviously took a lot away, and I think that's a good thing. It's where like you handle your business, specifically with the Bears. You guys have played the 3 worst defenses like the last 3 weeks or something like that, but you've also done what you're supposed to do.
Correct.
Same thing with the Packers. You played the Cardinals, who they had so many injuries yesterday during that game, but you handle your business. Jordan Love is interesting. He's kind of like a hybrid almost of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Kind of
don't say that. Don't say that.
Just like his high risk, high reward, but also being like, I don't think he's as Brett Favre as Favre was, but to where it's kind of a mix.
Scared me.
I put on scared you. Oh,
Because if he is actually a hybrid of those two, then we're screwed. I shouldn't even watch football anymore.
more so the play style, not necessarily the production.
No, yeah.
Necessarily.
You know what's crazy? The NFC North, every single team is 4-2 or better.
Yeah.
And I think I saw the top 4 point differentials in the league.
Yep.
Minnesota Vikings, the Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers. And I think a lot of it is because we got a good schedule draw. We play the NFC. I believe we play the NFC West, which is just a mess right now, and you'll get to that in a moment. The NFC West and then the AFC South, I believe, which outside of the Texans, and even they have a little shaky at times this year. Outside of them, it's not that great.
Yeah.
So I think we're benefiting from a little bit of the schedule thing. But I mean, the Bears were a last place team last year, so we're going to play a lot of other last place teams in certain games, and those teams didn't get much better, like the Patriots, like the Cardinals, like the Commanders, like throw in the. There's probably another team I'm missing, but you get the point. You get the point. So I think that definitely contributes to it, but it's going to be sad that one of these teams is going to have to miss the playoffs. Probably. The entire division could make it. It's possible, but I don't think it's likely. I feel like the Falcons or maybe the Bucks might have too good of a record by that point, but maybe not. We'll see. We'll see.
The thing is, like, I kind of expected this out of everyone except for the Vikings. Which, who are they in the division is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And they're the undefeated team.
Right.
What I think it comes back to is there have been barely any division games played so far.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Packers have only played the Vikings.
Right.
They haven't played the Bears at all, and they haven't played the Lions at all.
Now the Vikings play the Lions this week, which unfortunately it's not a primetime game. But I don't know who I think's gonna win that game either. Now the Lions lost Hutchinson.
I think I know.
We could throw that in the conversation here. Like that might change.
That changes everything.
That's huge. Max
They don't.
They don't have another edge rusher.
They don't. And people were talking about getting Detroit native, maybe not Detroit, but Michigan native Max Crosby.
I don't think he wants to.
Over to. You don't think he wants to leave at almost at LA, to Las Vegas?
I think. I'm not gonna say he's a lifer, but I think he's just gonna ride it out for the foreseeable future. I mean.
So the Raiders just aren't going to trade either of their stars this year, as it seems.
I think they'll trade Devontae Adams.
Do you think it's going to happen?
Yeah.
Shefty reported Sunday morning that he didn't think it was going to happen anymore.
Oh.
But I mean, who knows?
It's just like when we get closer to the trade deadline, people start getting desperate for different guys. Like the Lions, I think they already needed to go get another edge rusher because that's probably one of your most important positions when you get in the playoff time. But now you definitely need to get an edge rusher. Maybe like Hassan Reddick never even plays for the Jets. He just gets traded from the Eagles to the Jets, never plays for the Jets to another team. Maybe that's a player that they go out and get, but I don't know. I just don't see Crosby. That would be an insane package if they traded Crosby. Like
that'd be
more
more
than
than
first.
That would have a lot to give up because
Yeah.
he's one of the best in the game. So
And he's on a pretty decent contract too. Like Crosby signed his right before the edge rusher market just absolutely exploded.
yeah,
I think he's sitting at like 23 or 24 million a year. So for his production, he is a relative bargain.
Yeah, agreed. Was there another team that played this week, Howard?
there was, and we played a lot actually over the last not even 2 weeks.
Oh man, remember when you had dreams of 5-0?
Yeah.
Dreams of 6-0 now.
That's why I put on the sheet, Jake Cruz. I'm not having fun anymore, man.
I can tell by your face.
My joy is gone.
He's smiling, but it's not a real
It's not
smile.
because it's like I just can't believe how fast it evaporated. We're 3-0. We're now 3-3 after the loss to the 49ers on Thursday. And I hate losing to the 49ers, but I think the killer in this one is I think we just beat ourselves more than anything. We lost by 12, 36-24, but I genuinely feel like we could have lost this game. We had a great opening script. And then Gino, I think he threw his worst pick of the year. I think he had his worst game of the year, which is crazy because he's been playing so well throughout this year up until that point. I think there was some miscommunication, even his second pick to DK. DK, there was huge chatter around it. DK thought he could take it upfield, and he took it upfield, but Gino thought he was going to run a more of a crossing type route, and the corner just ran his route for him and picked it off, and that kind of sealed it because we were actually had a chance to win this game. That's why I think we could have won this game because we were in it so up until that late point. The defense was getting stops. We started running tempo a little bit to where we were actually moving the ball on their offense, but we still cannot stop the run. And we're also, like previous Seahawks teams, we're getting a lot of pressure, but we can't get sacks. Brock Purdy, like he's done all year, is just running, scampering in the backfield. He'll run 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage just to throw the ball. He is not taking a sack right now. He's bailing on his pocket. Key turnovers continue to be the difference. DK before this game had 2 basically game-deciding fumbles. Gino throws 2 picks that are pretty huge. Like I said, we could have taken the lead early on, and then we could have tied the game before he threw his second pick. It's killer because especially that Giants loss now looking at it, because you could be 4-2. Now you're 3-3. You're going to play the Falcons. You're going to play the Bills. The schedule does not get a lot easier to where you just think that we still have a favorable chance of potentially making the playoffs or something like that. We actually just traded for Jaguars defensive lineman Roy Robertson Harris earlier today.
Former Bear.
Former Bear.
He had a sack yesterday.
I think he did, yeah. Which I think it could be a combination of like depth, which you've had injuries on our defensive line, which I'm talking about, but also just performance in general. Guys are not necessarily playing up to standard, setting edges, filling gaps and stuff like that, to where guys are just destroying us on the ground. Crazy play on that Debo touchdown. I don't know what Julian Love was doing, to where he like tried to hit him midair, but he completely whiffed, and Debo took it 75 yards or whatever for a touchdown. You just can't have that. Just a lot of execution errors, which is frustrating because that's what you think with firing Pete Carroll, those things wouldn't happen as often. But I think I have to temper my expectations a little bit for the team. With the new coach, allowing him to, he necessarily doesn't have the players that he wants necessarily all throughout the roster. But I don't know. I think this game against the Falcons this week is winnable, but you're going to need to actually bring Kirk down. He is immobile. Yeah. He's very different than Brock Purdy, where he is not going to scramble at all. No. But you're going to have to bring him down. You're going to have to stop the run there at Bijan and Tyler Algier. That will be a tough task to do that. And you're on the road. Just beating yourselves a lot. That illegal shift on Kenneth Walker, the negated DK's touchdown. Just how will you respond? You kind of got a mini bye week this week, playing on Thursday. Now you get about 10 days to rest and regroup for this one. But you've lost 3 in a row after winning 3 in a row. Like I said, I'm not having fun. You can reverse this if you win this week.
Ryan Greaser, you know who the leading passer in the NFL is right now? Most yards.
Most yards?
Howard knows.
That's right. Off the top of my head, I mean, I would be.
Or does Howard know? I know. Okay. I'm very aware.
It's not Geno, is it?
It's Geno Smith. Leads the league in passing right now.
He's been balling, bro. That's the thing with Grubb, and I guess it is coming from college. You're not as tempted to run as much. Mm-hmm. But Kenneth Walker has, especially against the Giants game, they had 7 design runs the entire game.
That's it.
Yeah.
On against the Giants. So then the whole week leading up to Thursday Night Football, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna commit to the run. We have to get him the ball."
Yeah.
And every first and second down for most of our drives to start the game, run up the middle with Kenneth Walker. They try to commit to the run, which the 49ers, they're kind of susceptible to the run a little bit. But like, I don't know.
You know what's crazy is that this year's Seahawks team, from an offensive personnel standpoint, is very similar to last year's Washington team that Ryan Grubb was the OC for. Think about solid, really good quarterback. I mean, a good quarterback, right, with Geno. And then you got 3 wide receivers, right? They had Roman Dunze, Jalen Polk, and Jalen McMillan. You got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and JSN. They didn't really run the ball either.
Yeah.
So it may just be a Ryan Grubb thing, or it may just be the way he wants to run his teams. Shout out to the 4th-string receiver on that team, by the way, Jeremy Bernard, who's at Alabama now, killing it. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's an interesting dynamic.
I can't understate the O-line either, though. Stone Forsythe, our right tackle, I have to say it again, he got destroyed by Nick Bosa in this game. And it's like when you have constant pressure, like Geno, like I've talked about it, he's been so good at just not making mistakes when pressure is in his face, but this is the game that it came back to haunt him. When you have constant pressure off the edge like that, it's tough to overcome. So the Falcons, they're prominent to not have pass rushers necessarily. Judon is really the only guy, and even he isn't a blue chip guy necessarily. So you should not have those same struggles this week.
I agree. Ryan Greaser, what's up next?
We got fantasy football next.
How'd you do last week, Ryan?
How do you think I did?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
I
know how I did.
I did horrible last week. I think I had 5 guys score 2 or fewer points.
Oh no.
My defense got like 0. Tucker Kraft got 1.5. Shout out Tucker Kraft after putting up like 20 the week before. I think I did have him on my sell list actually. But
that's all that matters.
Compared to Evan Ingram, he was a better option.
Right.
Which isn't saying anything at all, considering Evan Ingram hasn't played this year.
Mm-hmm.
But Josh Allen needs to have a huge game tonight against the Jets for me to have a chance to win this. But I lost again, putting me at like 2-4.
Who did you buy last week? Do you remember who you bought last
I
week?
bought Drake London last week.
How did
It worked out really well for me. He got like 20 points.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
That was kind of a game that got thrown under the rug. Like it was in that weird 3:05 time slot.
Yeah.
Panthers. Very, very forgettable game for sure.
Yeah.
You want to lead us off this week, Reeser?
I will. So we got, as always, the disclaimer, do not listen to my fantasy advice. I just gave you plenty of reasons why you shouldn't. That being said, I'm going to start with my sell because, as I typically do, I choose a player who had a massive week, and I know it's not going to happen again. We got Chris Godwin. I think I've actually had him on my sell list before this year. It's either him or Mike Evans. But Chris Godwin, he once again had a very Chris Godwin game. 35 points against the Saints. And I don't know if it's him or Mike Evans, but one of them has just consistently dominated, or maybe it's both, that every time they play the Saints, they just blow up. And they score at least like 30 points. Chris Godwin, the Buccaneers have, as I find this, they have the Ravens this week. Yeah, it's not happening this week. Now, on my bye, I have Mr. Lad McConkey. They are playing the Cardinals this week. Chargers are playing the Cardinals. Cardinals are beat up in the secondary.
It's already as not good as it is.
No, it's not good. And then they're just beat up as well. So McConkey, in games that he catches more than half his targets, he has not dipped below 7 targets in a game. So he has good volume coming his way. He just hasn't been able to necessarily convert everything. I think Jim Harbaugh is realizing more. Shout out Jim Harbaugh, who didn't die during the game, like atrial fibrillation or something like that. Thank goodness he's okay, because that is really scary to see on TV. But I think he's realizing that he can throw the ball just a tiny bit more.
Right.
Like,
It's very unlike him, though. He doesn't like to do that.
he doesn't, but J.K. Dobbins, he's a ticking time bomb for when he's going to get hurt. Unfortunately, but he is. Like, he has not been able to stay healthy. He has so far this year. It's not if it'll happen, it's when.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that they're starting to realize, okay, we can't give him the ball 20 times a game because he just can't hold up to that. And they're starting to throw the ball more. Who are they throwing it to? Quentin Johnston hasn't done anything in the NFL.
He's been better this year.
Better.
But better from terrible receiver.
Yeah, better is
He's
a
been Mike
relative
Williams
term.
this year is what it's been.
Yeah, basically. That's, oh my gosh, he has been Mike Williams.
He's the new Mike Williams in LA, yeah.
Yeah, the exact same player. Like, I think you could put a Mike Williams jersey on him and people would not notice the difference.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think Lad McConkey is becoming Keenan Allen, but I do think that he is more of an option in that offense.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
by Lad McConkey, I'm not saying 20 points. I'm saying he's going to give you like 15. We're going to have 7 catches for 75 yards, so 14 and a half. And that's not horrible production. It's a very safe pick this week.
Are you ready to go or do you want me to go?
I got it.
Go ahead.
This week, I'm buying. I literally just forgot. Who am I selling? Oh, I'm selling Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk has not gone off this year.
Oh, he hasn't.
Like
No.
even against us, like he had I think one memorable catch that I remember over the middle, but like he's not been himself. He's had some drops early on. That might be just him showing up late to training camp. You know, with that hold up with that contract situation. So against the Chiefs in a primetime game this week, he's going up against Trent McDuffie. Who I think they'll probably Trent McDuffie will follow him this week, and McDuffie is one of the best in the game. And like I said, Ayuk has not shown me any reason for me to believe in him going off this weekend. The Chiefs defense is pretty good. I think they'll do a good job on that offense in general. I think you're gonna have to come back to me for buying.
Okay, all right.
Because I had it and then I completely forgot.
Well, I'll do my sell real quick, and then we'll do
Gotcha.
our buys together. I'm actually going to sell Garrett Wilson, and I hate to do this. That's my guy. Been my guy forever. But they're going up against the Steelers this week, and the Jets' offense has become essentially screw it, Garrett down there somewhere. That's kind of what Aaron Rodgers is doing. And I don't like that in a matchup against the Steelers, especially on Sunday night. The place is going to be rocking. Even if he does, like, I'm not saying he's going to have a terrible game, but compared to the 22 targets he had a couple of weeks ago, like I don't see that happening. And even if it does, like I don't think it's going to be a good night for the Jets. So a little sneak peek of who we're picking in that game. But I'm going to sell Garrett Wilson. Do we have our buy?
I'm gonna buy Tank Dell. I think Jair Alexander is gonna follow Stephon Diggs. It's kind of his
He's
thing.
gonna follow Diggs.
Good
I think he's gonna follow Diggs.
Not Nico Collins.
Nico Collins is hurt.
Oh,
You didn't know
He
that?
is?
I didn't see that one.
He's on IR.
On IR.
Tonight?
Yes.
Was that today?
No, after last week.
Oh my
so
gosh.
he didn't even play against the
He
Patriots.
didn't, he didn't play against the
I
Patriots.
completely missed
I
that.
also
Yeah.
completely missed that.
Yeah. Tank Dell, I think he got 2 touchdowns yesterday. And there was speculation about him and Stroud's connection ever since he got hurt last year. But I think Tank Dell will go off. Packers defense, I think they're a team that, as the season continues to progress, is like they'll perform well against those bad teams. They had a monster day yesterday, but against a formidable offense like the Texans are, especially through the air, I think they'll do a pretty good job. So I'm buying Tank Dell. And like I said, I'm selling, and I forgot again who am I selling.
Brandon Ayuk.
Brandon Ayuk, yes.
A guy that came back yesterday, or at least I don't know how long he's been back for. Pardon me, I don't watch Jaguars football. Evan Ingram did have a really good game yesterday against the Chicago Bears. He had 10 receptions for 102 yards. One of the more underrated. What?
He's put him on your
Oh,
bench.
yeah, that's right.
I cut him.
Oh, wow.
I didn't just put him on my
I completely
bench.
dropped him. Evan Ingram was fantastic. Greaser, he was awesome against the Bears yesterday. He was about the only good thing that Jacksonville could do on offense. And I'm going to buy him again this week going up against the Patriots. I just think that, that the Patriots are where their strengths are is not at the linebacker unit, which I think is what's going to be covering Evan Ingram. I almost did Christian Kirk for this, but again, the one kind of solid thing to do is the Patriots in the secondary now. Now with Jabril Peppers, of course, but we can get into that another day. But I'm going to take Evan Ingram. I think he's going to have another big game. I think he's going to get into the end zone primarily for this one. I'm not sure he's going to go off for 10 and 102 again, but I do think he's going to score a touchdown this week. So give me Evan Ingram, Mr. I drop everything. What was on the Giants at least?
I'm gonna buy the Saints tight ends as well.
Just want to
Jawan Johnson and
Jawan
Jason
Johnson.
Hill.
I think they had a solid game, and Rattler, I don't think he's somebody who will necessarily push it down the field, especially with the absences of Tris Olavi and maybe even Rashid Sneed too. I think it's Jawan Johnson and Foster Moreau, but somebody's gonna have to get those possessions, get those catches. It's probably in those intermediate sections. The Broncos, they blitz a lot and they play man behind it, and I think you can get something. Probably not against those corners, even though PS2 Passer 10 probably won't play in this game. But I think the tight ends will get this one.
Ryan, give us a quick recap of our picks last week, and then let's head in to week 7? 7? Yeah, week 7.
Week 7.
Of the NFL season.
So we already touched on it. 49ers, they came in, just beat the Seahawks. Beat the brakes off the Seahawks. Sorry, Howard.
I wouldn't say breaks though. You think it's breaks? I don't think it was breaks. Like we were in that game.
You were in that game. I was watching that game,
Big return.
like, at dinner. I was watching that game with some of my friends, and they're like, oh my gosh, I have to bet on this right now. I was like, do not bet on the Seahawks in this game. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't
Yeah,
do
don't
it.
do
We
that.
were out of it, and then we came back in it, and then
And then you were very much out of it.
Like,
What's
we
the
beat
name of the
ourselves.
49ers running back that ran like 70 yards?
I have no idea.
Garando.
There's something.
GUE something.
Don't even
Like
ask.
that's indicative of our run defense. Letting
That's
the
like their
hits.
6-string running back just going nuts.
Mason got hurt halftime.
Oh, yeah.
Came back for one
That was
play.
another 2-pointer for me in fantasy this week.
I did start Mason as well.
Yeah. So the Bears, they went and beat the Jags in London with ease. The Lions just embarrassed the Cowboys. That
They
was
were putting out like offensive linemen.
They were running trick plays. They
They were.
If you remember, if you watched the
Yeah.
game last year when they played each other,
Mhm.
and that huge was it ineligible man downfield? Was that the flag that they called us?
Yeah, I think so.
On
For
Dan
Taylor
Skipper.
Decker.
On Taylor Decker.
Yeah.
When Skipper came in and you
Yeah.
know all that stuff. They are running hooking ladders to Panay Sewell.
And it kind of worked.
It literally almost worked. They're running, putting Dan Skipper on the outside
Yeah.
against the corner, and he was open. You actually could have thrown to him.
Yeah.
You could have got first down. Like Dan Campbell was absolutely in his bag. He was trying to embarrass the Cowboys, and they did.
I will say I've long been woke on the Trayvon Diggs is overrated thing.
Oh my gosh.
He's not a good corner. I'm sorry, he has not been a good corner. He had that one year, I think it was 2021, where he had all those picks, but like on those half of those picks he got beat. And it was just a bad throw by the quarterback, and he just happened to be there. So yeah, they embarrassed him. That was it. I don't want the Lions to win because they're in our division, obviously, but that was fun to watch.
That year specifically, he's the worst version of himself, I think, because like obviously teams are targeting you. They obviously see that you're prone to get beat. So I think he's gotten better since then. Like he doesn't get targeted as much, and you obviously see that in his interception numbers. Right.
Yeah, the Bengals, they just barely escaped the Giants.
A terrible game.
Yeah,
An awful game.
awful game to watch. The Bengals and Giants are both just not fun teams to watch right now. And then it was our holdover pick from Monday Night Football. It'll be 2 weeks ago at this point, wouldn't it be?
Well,
Or is my math just bad?
Chiefs-
No, it wasn't last week.
Last
No,
week.
yeah.
That was last week. Yeah.
Yeah, math is hard. Chiefs, they easily beat the Saints. There wasn't much doubt in that game. Chiefs just doing Chiefs things. That's about all we can say on that one. Now, that brings us into the first game of this week. The Saints are in it again. They're playing on Thursday night. They're playing the Broncos. The Saints are at home in this one. They're in the Superdome. What are we thinking, Howard?
I'm picking the Saints. This is the first game of an NFL slate that I think is pretty disgusting. If we're looking at these are teams that you're not super confident in several of these games, and the Saints are plagued with injuries. No Derek Carr, so Spencer Rattler's getting his second start. No Chris Olave, who had the concussion. Rashid Shaheed didn't practice today. Versus a Broncos team where I don't want to put confidence in Bo Nix. Bo Nix does not look good, except outside of one game against the Buccaneers, who are solid defense to do that against. But Saints had a very bad performance defensively against the Buccaneers yesterday. I think they'll bounce back on Thursday Night Football, though. I'm rolling. Give me New Orleans.
And this is my Hide Your Kids, Hide Your Wife game of the week. Do not watch it. Find something else to do on a Thursday night. But what do families do on Thursdays? It's a big dinner night.
Game night?
Go out to eat, maybe.
Maybe.
Actually, no, don't go out to eat because this game will probably be on TV wherever you are. So, game night. Let's do a game night. Let's play Monopoly.
There
The
we go.
movie on the background. It's a Halloween movie.
That's right.
Scary.
That's right.
Let's do game night.
There you go.
Saints for me.
Unfortunately, I'm going against you guys. I'm taking the Broncos in this one. I'm not putting confidence in Bo Nix, but if the Saints defense plays even half as bad as they did last week, then Bo Nix can at least have a serviceable day.
Sure.
Spencer Rattler, he didn't look that bad.
No,
He really did not look that bad, which just goes to show, like, Rattler got an unnecessary amount of hate in college. Caleb Williams really ended his collegiate career.
It doesn't look that bad now.
No, he really does not look that bad. And it doesn't look that bad that Caleb beat him out either.
No.
Like, both of those guys, having both of them in the same QB room at Oklahoma, that was insane. But that being said, I am still taking the Broncos. The Saints offense is so beat up. Like, the Broncos defense is not pretty good. Now, without Pat Surtain, it's hard.
Yeah.
But, because he is the linchpin of their entire defense. But, if this is a lot like my Illinois-Michigan pick, if the Broncos can do enough on offense, they're going to win this game.
Yeah.
But it's a big if. Howard, I saw you like cringe a little bit. Are you thinking about swapping on this?
I just keep thinking this game is so nasty, man. And I also thought about Saints have injuries to their old line, which I think has been kind of the reason, more so when Derek Carr was in it, their offense has kind of slowed down since that first 2-week insanity run that they went on. I'm still gonna pick the Saints, but like this is such a nasty game again.
So going to another nasty game, we have Patriots who are 5.5-point favorites, which is a crazy line on this one. They're playing they're playing at Jags, which this is another one in London.
Correct.
So this is going to be bright and early, 8:30 a.m. in the morning for you morning people on Sundays. Jordan, would you like to start? You went in depth about the Jags earlier.
I would love to start. Yeah, I do think the Jags are a team that's better than the record says they are. Not much better. Who knows? I do think, especially offensively, they have the personnel there, right? The only reason I'm picking them to win this game is because they're going up against the Patriots, who are just as much, if not more, dysfunctional. I think the Patriots are going to be okay in the future, but this is clearly a lost season for them. Clearly a lost season for the Jags as well. Another reason I'll take them to win is because they've already been in London for an extra few days more than the Patriots will. So this is not a fun pick, not one that I'm proud to make, but I will take the Jaguars. And like I said, I picked Evan Ingram to have a big week. I'm kind of hoping for that as well. So go ahead and give me the Jags to defeat the Patriots.
Jags are beating the Patriots. The Patriots just look bad. They haven't looked good since Brady left, and this is just another continuation of that streak. Like there are some signs of promise with Drake May playing. I think Howard's probably going to go a little more in on that, but the Jags should not be as bad as they are. They are bad. Like there's no question that they are a bad team, and they are not getting better anytime soon.
No.
Especially with Doug Peterson and Press Taylor in place.
Doug Peterson he should be fired.
Doug
honestly.
Peterson, to me, I thought he was the right guy for this team. I really did.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, it looked like it halfway.
it
through
looked
last year.
like it. And I really thought that he shouldn't have been fired by the Eagles. I thought he was a scapegoat for that.
Yeah,
But
which makes Sirianni. We'll talk about that at some point too.
yeah, but we're starting to see that maybe he should have been fired. And I would be surprised if he's not fired after this year with the Jags. That being said, Jags are going to win this one in London. Howard, who's got this one?
I'm gonna pick the Patriots. There is a lot of talent on that defense, and I think you just kind of get worn down. Your offense is so inept with Jacoby Brissett at center, behind center, or under center. But Drake May did look solid yesterday. I think he had a lot of nice throws. He did, of course, have some pretty bad ones in his first career start, but there was definitely more competence on the offensive side of things. But if they get Ramondre Stevenson back for this one, that they didn't have yesterday, I'll be even more confident in this pick. So I am worried a little bit, but the Jaguars, we've said it, they're a terrible watch. They're operating like a terrible franchise right now. They're starting safety Andre Cisco is like, we quit after the second half yesterday. And that's kind of a reflection on Doug Peterson, who I don't know how he still has a job, honestly. He'll probably face if they lose this game, he'll probably get the Robert Saleh treatment when they come back from London and get fired after that trip over the pond.
And then that brings us into our Sunday afternoon slate. The Chiefs at 49ers on CBS. Chiefs being 1.5-point underdogs going into San Francisco this week. That being said, this is a Chiefs game. I think that everybody who's watched this podcast at least once knows the way we're going with this. Chiefs, across the board, does anybody have any analysis or do we just move on?
I've got a stat.
Give us that
Right.
stat.
Okay, hold on. I'm kind of putting it together in my head right now. Apologies. I'm going back. I'm in 2019 now. Going back to math. Ryan, help me out here. It's 93. Hold on. Almost there. This is the last year. Okay. Going back to 2018, when the Chiefs are underdogs, they win games outright. I'm going to restart that sentence. That doesn't make sense. The Chiefs have been underdogs 16 times
That's it.
in the last, since 2018, okay? Starting in the Mahomes era. They are 11-5 in those games, outright. Not only are they covering,
Wow.
they're winning the game. Last year they were 4-0 as an underdog. Like straight up.
You just can't pick against them.
You cannot pick against them.
Yeah,
Especially as an underdog.
that's it. You just can't pick against them.
I would feel more confident about I think I've said this before on the podcast. I feel more confident about the Raiders beating the Chiefs on Monday night when the Raiders are 10-point underdogs than I would about the 49ers in this game.
Yeah,
The numbers just speak for themselves.
they do. That's about all you can say. This is a Super Bowl matchup, by
It
the way. Rematch, not
Hopes.
matchup.
Twice.
Yeah, 2-time Super Bowl rematch. So 49ers are really carrying a grudge in this one.
Now, what would be really funny is if the Niners came out and just beat the crap out of them.
Oh, it'd be hilarious.
But
I wouldn't like that at all, actually, to be honest with you.
Well, because twice. But it would be funny if we all just say Chiefs no matter what, and then the Niners just smack them. Yeah.
Moving. Go ahead.
No, just the thing about this one is like, I just don't see a world where the 49ers beat them, honestly. Like, the Chiefs, they're functioning on all cylinders. I think they looked better on offense last week, even with the injuries.
Yeah.
49ers are going to have to show something. Get this monkey off their back against those AFC teams, especially. Ravens came to their house on Christmas last year and destroyed them at home. 49ers, I don't think the Chiefs will destroy them necessarily, but I'm taking them to beat them still.
Yeah. Another pick that we didn't seem to have much debate on was Jets at Steelers. Jets are 1.5-point underdogs. This is Sunday Night Football. Jordan, tell me about the Steelers.
Don't come to me first on this game. Listen, I'm picking the Steelers. no real analysis needed here. I think these are both teams that are wildly disappointing. I think that the Steelers' 4-2 record is a little misleading. I don't think they're as good as the record says they are, and the Jets are a team that I don't think they're as bad as the record says they are. I think they're a lot closer than people realize. I said earlier, I think Garrett Wilson's going to struggle. I think T.J. Watt is going to have a field day against the Jets here. I'm going to take the Steelers in a very ugly game.
Daniel Hyper is still calling plays.
Yeah. Oh, and we forgot to talk about Robert Saleh getting fired.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that it does not move me. The defense is not the problem. To where you have to fire Robert Saleh. Maybe there was some stuff of him captivating the team, but once Aaron Rodgers walked in that door, I mean, it was his team, and you see it's his team fully to the fullest extent. So he's a scapegoat. I don't think they'll improve much. We'll see that in our holdover game tonight and also in this one, but they have to really show me before I'm swayed on how I feel about the Jets.
Yeah, I'm with you there. The Steelers, Justin Fields, what he's done in Pittsburgh this year, it's been ugly. It's just the epitome of Justin Fields football. It's not enjoyable to watch outside of like one play each game where you're like, holy crap, this guy can do stuff. But he's getting it done. Steelers are 4-2. Their defense they've got stars on that defense between Minka, Joey Porter Jr., who does not get talked about enough as an elite corner in the NFL.
Yeah.
And then the timeless T.J. Watt, who's just amazing still.
They got several guys on that line, the defensive line. Nate Herbig, Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith, like they can rush the passer and then they can hold it down in the secondary as well.
Yeah. So Steelers are winning that game. We have our holdover game that will be tonight. That is Bills 2.5-point favorites at the Jets. Just recapping those picks real quick. I had the Bills, as did Howard. Jordan had the Jets.
Not switching.
Not switching?
We're gonna hold strong.
All right, you just laid out.
You're believing in the head coach, the head coach.
I am. And we made the pick. I think we made this pick before that happened.
Yeah,
So now I'm even more confident they're gonna win.
All right,
Revenge game for Aaron Rodgers.
revenge for Aaron Rodgers.
What happened at the beginning of last season.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
sure. It's even revenge. The turf tour is Achilles' not.
Revenge on
Buffalo.
the MetLife turf.
Yeah, there we go. Now, going to next Monday night, we're going to have two games. We're going to have the Cardinals, who are 2.5-point underdogs in LA, playing the Chargers. Howard, what you got?
I'm surprised in someone's pick. I'll let him discuss it later, a little later. But the Chargers, I mean, they have a formula to beat teams. Harbaugh came and instilled it pretty quickly to where they'll run the ball. Even though you have a superstar quarterback in Justin Herbert, you're not putting the ball in his hands too much, and your defense has really lived up to the talent that it has compared to under previous leadership. So Cardinals do not look good. A lot of injuries. Maybe we thought they would be scrappy. There's talent on that offense, but Marvin Harrison Jr.'s injury just destroys their weapons that they have on the outside as well. Their defense has very little talent. Pretty confident picking the Chargers.
For what it's worth, this game is actually in Arizona. So I want to throw that out first.
I'm sorry.
So I want to throw that out first. Secondly, the person Howard was referring to is me. I'm sure it was me because I'm picking the Cardinals to win this game. Two reasons. No football reason. It's a bounce back spot for them. Huge bounce back spot, especially playing against the Packers. I think they're going to get a completely different animal here with the Chargers, a team that I think they can take advantage of on the back end. Now, Marv is hurt. And that does change things. I don't see him playing next week. At least I doubt it. He's got a concussion.
Yeah.
But why is this line only 2.5? You would figure with everything going the Chargers' way, this line would be a little bit bigger because of the bounce back spot, because I do think Kyler's going to put the team on his back, make a couple of big plays. Chargers going to Charger. Give me the Cardinals at home on Monday night.
Yeah, I'm not with you on that.
That's fine, man.
I'm not.
It's all right.
Chargers have looked good. I talked about it earlier in the fantasy segment with Matt McConkey, Quentin Johnston, running back J.K. Dobbins. Like, they have a formula, as Howard was saying. It matches up well against the Cardinals. Like, the Cardinals' defense is just beat all the crap. They have, even before that, they had no talent. Like, if you could name more than 5 players on the Cardinals' defense, like, you obviously are a much larger football fan than like 90% of people.
I'm gonna try.
You're gonna try?
Buda Baker, Sean Ricky Bunting.
Oh, shout out to him. A terrible.
Is Dennis Gardick still on the team?
I don't think so.
Great
Yeah,
question.
pull up the depth chart.
Dennis Gardick. I don't even know if I've heard of him before. Shout out to Sean Murphy Bunting, who Romeo Dubs had a field day on yesterday.
Yeah.
That was one of the worst drives I've ever seen from a DB.
Yeah.
That's
Are you talking about that little when he threw it up and caught it just pretty bad.
And then he had I think he had a PI earlier in that drive too. Yeah. Shout out to him.
I think that's all I got, man. I can't name more than three.
Isaiah Simmons used to be on the Cardinals.
Yeah, I was thinking about him, but I was like,
He's on the Giants now.
Yeah, he blocked our field goal.
He did.
All right, the more that I look at this defense, the more I'm like, okay, these are names that are like somewhat recognizable. Everybody that you named was. So Zaven Collins,
Okay.
I'm mad at myself. I didn't remember that one. Bilal Nichols has been in the league for a long time.
I wouldn't remember that.
Former Bear.
Former Bear.
Kaiser White.
I could have got that.
Dante Stills. That's nobody. Roy Lopez.
Oh my god. Now we're getting into like
No,
auto-generated names.
Yeah.
Lopez.
Roy Lopez.
What is he, a D lineman?
He is. He's a defensive
Watch him
tackle.
like lead the league in sacks next year or something. We're making fun of him.
Yeah. Then we have Dennis Gardeck. You had him. Sean Murphy Bunting. Jalen Thompson is a safety.
I could have got that.
Buda Baker. Right cornerback. Would anybody like to wager a guess?
I was going to say, who's the other outside corner? I have no idea.
Starling Thomas V.
Of course. Obviously.
Yeah.
And then their nickelback is Garrett Williams,
Nice.
which another auto-generated name.
Yes.
Their guy behind him, I'd actually heard of him before, Keitrell Clark. And
Okay.
then some of their second string guys are more recognizable than their first
I
ones.
got Max Melton, too. I know he's on the team, too.
Okay, LJ Collier, Darius Robinson, Chris Barnes, Julian Aquara,
Chris Barnes, former Packer.
former Packer.
Julian Aquara, former Giant. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah,
LJ Collier's Seahawks.
yeah, like some of these are fairly recognizable names. It shows the
like
fall off.
five of them are kind
Yeah.
of recognizable.
Roy Lopez, I want to see if he's like
Man, their defense is
auto-generated.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't tell me this isn't an auto-generated Madden
That's a
player.
fake guy. The guy's not real.
Like, he does
How
not.
many years?
This is his third year, so 21, 22, 23.
Wow.
No, this is fourth year.
That's
Wow.
Career statistics.
Does he have a sack?
No
sacks this year.
sacks this year. I'm looking at his career stats. So he was actually on the Texans for 2 years.
Mm.
He had a sack each year that he was with them.
Nice.
He does have a sack this year.
Shout out Roy Lopez. And that was talking Arizona Cardinals. All right, next game.
Next game, Ravens,
I picked that team.
who are 3.5-point favorites against the Buccaneers on ABC, I believe. I'll start on this one. This one is tricky.
In Tampa.
It's in Tampa. It's in Tampa. That made it easier. We're gonna go Buccaneers on this one.
Wow.
I am. I know the Ravens have been rolling.
What a pick.
Derrick Henry has come out and he is awoken. King Henry's back. He's first in like every measurable running back statistic, and it's not really even close. But Buccaneers have been showing out the last few weeks, like putting up 51 against the Saints. The Saints' defense to me is not that much better than the Ravens' defense. It really isn't.
I think the thing is there's like talent on both of these defenses to where like they shouldn't like the Ravens defense is clearly took a step back from where they were. The Saints, I think it was more so just their bad performance. But we'll see how that shakes out through the rest of the year. But I'm struggling to pick this one.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, they're both older. I think they're both over 30 at this point.
They should be.
But they're showing up.
Yeah.
Lunch Pail guys. I mean, Chris Godwin, 2 touchdowns, like 150 yards or something this week. He just gets it done. Mike Evans, same thing. I'm liking it. Ooh, Howard's not liking it though.
I'm so glad I brought this too. This is kind of a famous stat for Lamar. He's like 24-1 against NFC teams.
Really?
Yeah, and the only
What
team.
would that one loss have been?
I was gonna say I
Is
want
it
you to
Packers?
guess the quarter. No, it wasn't. I want you to guess the quarterback. It was the team too, but
That he
I don't
lost
think
to.
I don't think you'll get it.
That he lost
That
to.
he lost.
Was it the Rams?
Is it Baker on the Panthers or something?
I don't know why I was thinking Baker too, but I was thinking Baker on the
He's
Rams.
still a quarterback on that team.
On that team.
He's still there. Hold on, wait a minute. Hold up.
It's not Goff on the Lions. It's not Stafford on the Rams.
Daniel Jones and the Giants.
Daniel Jones.
I can't
Oh my
believe.
gosh.
You know what? I don't know
I
why.
forgot about that one.
That's crazy, dude.
Was that wait? Was that Daniel Jones's one primetime win in his career?
Probably.
Probably, yeah. That was probably, yeah.
I might go back and watch
Stat.
that game after this one.
What a stat.
Finish the pod because I'm so glad I remember that because I was honestly struggling with this, but then I was oh, there we go. I'm rolling Ravens.
Yeah.
Mainly because of that stat, but also I think that forced Baker to make some mistakes. He did yesterday, even though he went off statistically. He had like 2 picks. They were pretty bad. So
I'm gonna go with the Ravens as well. I think we've seen this from the Ravens really each of the last 5 years, 5-6 years that Lamar's been the quarterback. They might have a little skid at the beginning, but they hit a point in the season, and now even with Derrick Henry, I think it's going to be even more, where they just go on a run where they do not lose, and they are just grounding and pounding teams into the dirt. Not only do they have Derrick Henry this time around, but they have Zay Flowers, they have Rashad Bateman this time around. So both of their tight ends have been unbelievable. Mark Andrews, he finally woke up. I believe he caught a touchdown last week, and then Isaiah Likely, of course, he was a story of week 1, and he's kind of kept that up ever since then. So give me the Ravens, and I'm honestly going to take the Ravens big in this game.
I do want to say, just going back to Bills Jets earlier, no James Cook tonight for the Bills. But
Yeah,
so.
what
That
a darn
hurts.
shame.
But I don't think that it hurts.
Yeah,
the
that's
Bills.
like that doesn't sway me still. You know what I'm saying? But no James Cook still. But
No.
On to that.
All right, Howard. What's our next segment?
next we got Major League Baseball. We're at the championship series stage now, and we had kind of a surprise, especially when we kind of walked through our picks and our brackets for the playoffs. The Dodgers actually overcame the monkey on their back, and they beat the Padres on the back of 30. Well, their pitching has been unreal to start, but now they've carried it into the championship series. They now have 33 scoreless innings, which is tied for a playoff record.
That's unbelievable.
That's insane.
Just through the first 2 rounds, it's
Yeah.
already tied the playoff record.
Yeah, because
Wow.
Fernando Tatis hit a homer in the bottom of the second or third? Second inning in game 3.
Mm-hmm.
From that point on, it was the last run the Padres scored. And the Dodgers have carried that into a 9-inning shutout against the Mets in the game of the championship series. This is like pretty unbelievable, and that streak actually was snapped in the first inning of today's game. Francisco Lindor hit a leadoff homer in game 2 of the NLCS, but the Dodgers have been reeling, and it's kind of a common thing for them the last few years of where their pitching staffs has been depleted, even though they've been so good at the start of the year, and then the injuries continue to pile up. So at this point, they only have Jack Flaherty and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. They're also starting Walker Buehler, who I don't think he pitched as terrible as his line would have said in that game last week. And some pretty tough defensive luck for him behind him. But when you get those type of performances from your bullpen and from your pitching staff in general, you can beat anyone in the playoffs. And for them to shut down the Padres offense, which is in a lot of statistics been the best in baseball this year, I mean, they just like shut them down completely to when the Padres had all the juice to having basically none. So now they moved on to the Mets. And the Mets have shut down. They shut down the Phillies last week. Another team that we thought it would be Phillies Padres.
We did. We whiffed.
Both of those teams lost to their divisional counterparts. The Mets, I think they have the most juice of any playoff team that I've seen in recent memory. I mean, the clutch hits that they've had, it just the pure magic that they've been able to win games. I think there's a formula to exceed in the playoffs. I don't know if you could say it traces back to just several decades or it's more of a recent thing, but you have to have either or and guys you can really rely on the starting rotation. The Mets have that in Luis Severino, Sean Manaea, Jose Quintana is really stepping up. They even have David Peterson coming out the pen, which I think they should probably look at starting him going forward because they've been starting Kodai Senga, who I don't think is 100% healthy after coming back from his injury. But I don't think their bullpen is super locked down. Maybe it was something with the familiarity with the Phillies who were able to get some of their bullpen guys. Edwin Diaz looks a little burnt out. But also having a lineup that anybody can beat beat you, having different ways to score runs. Their lineup is super deep right now. Jose Iglesias is getting big hits. They just got Jeff McNeil back. Brandon Nimmo, P. Alonso, Mark Vientos is really stepping up. It's like that formidable guy in their lineup. They really have a formula. I think they can beat the Dodgers. They actually are winning this game that they're in playing right now. They're up 6-3 at the bottom of the eighth. If they hold on, it'll be 1-1 going back to New York, which I think is what they could ask for. But do you guys think that the Mets can beat the Dodgers? Because I mean, they've been underdogs throughout this playoff so far. They came back and stunned the Brewers. They beat the Phillies, who are World Series favorites. The Dodgers, can they get this monkey off their back to where they finally get over the hump and get to the World Series?
I think it's interesting, but in order for them to win games with the Dodgers, they have to do what they did in today's contest, which is get to their starters and get them early, because that Dodgers bullpen has been unbelievable. And I think one of the more underrated stories of the season is how the Dodgers took Michael Kopech and completely rejuvenized him into this lockdown. And they've used him in closer, sometimes they use him in long relief. No matter where they've used him, he's been incredible. He's hitting 101, 102 on the regular, just rearing back and absolutely firing the ball. So if you're going to beat the Dodgers, you got to get to them early. I think the Mets can do that. How often they do that, though, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they'll be able to do it 4 times in a series, because once you get to that Dodgers starter, who knows what can happen? And even the Dodgers offense at times has been spotty here and there, but this postseason it's been great. So I think they're really going to have to jump on the starters early and just hope and pray that the Dodgers offense doesn't wake up later in the game, because to this point they've been able to do so.
The thing is, like, the first 2 games, like, both teams kind of had a bullpen. The team who won, the opposing team, had a bullpen game. Single wasn't supposed to go deep, but he got lit up. He was walking guys to where the game was kind of out of reach before it even started. Today, the Dodgers ran out a bullpen game. Ryan Brazier ran into trouble early on, and their bullpen wasn't as dominant as it has been. So I think both teams did what they were supposed to do in a bullpen game, so to speak, to where now we're starting to get, now the Dodgers will have to go against Quintana and Severino in New York. Minaya did a solid job against them today. I think the Mets can win this series. It'll come down to Shohei, man. I have some Shohei stats here that were pretty alarming when you looked at it in his first career playoffs. He's 6 for 8. Well, before today's game, before game 2 of the NFCS, he was 6 for 8 with a homer and a double and 6 RBI with runners on in the playoffs. With nobody on base, he was 0 for 16 with 9 strikeouts.
That's so crazy.
That's insane. But honestly, if you want him to get hits, you want him to come with runners on base.
Yep.
Right.
His last 19 at-bats with runners in scoring position, he's 16 hits with 6 homers and 24 RBIs. That's 16 for 19 in his last. That's insane.
To me, this is just as simple as, like, from a pitcher's standpoint, okay, when you've got a runner on base, you got to go from the stretch. You just have to pitch a guy differently than you do. And I think when you're coming from the windup, you got your full arsenal at your disposal, and Joe is struggling with that. So to me, it's just that simple.
Very disappointing seasons for the Padres, or season endings, I guess you could say, to the Padres and the Phillies, especially the Phillies. Padres had a great run. Just credit to the Dodgers pitching, to shut them down like that. But the Phillies, this was underwhelming. I think they have some serious questions to answer going forward. Their bullpen got lit up, which is kind of wasn't expected when they added at the bullpen. Also, you had several guys who did not perform in the playoffs. Guys like Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott, JT Realmuto, even Harper and Schwarber didn't have huge series. They had some clutch hits, but this is a team that we expect to get over the hump and get one in the near future. But I think they're going to have to improve the lineup in order to get over that hump. Going over to the American League, the Guardians, they got clutch hits to beat the Detroit Tigers. David Fry had a season-saving 2-run homer in that 8th inning in Detroit in Game 4 to get in the lead, and then Emilio Clase came in, got a multi-inning save. And then in Game 5, with Terry Scoop on the mound, the Tigers have won these games. They've been able to scrape by, and they called it chaos with their bullpen games, but in the Scoop games, they've been able to get performances and stretch away runs. The Guardians, I don't know if it was familiarity with Scoop being in division, seeing him over the year, but Lane Thomas hit a grand slam off him in the bottom of the 5th inning, and at that point, that's how you knew it was over. Tigers, very obviously a surprise and a shocking season, but they shouldn't be too disappointed with how it ended.
No.
If your best guy, really your only starter, gets beat like that, what more can you do at that point? I think they definitely can look to add in the lineup and in the rotation in the offseason, but very encouraging from them. But the Guardians, they got clutch hits. And now they'll move on to face a Yankees team, which I think really overmatched the Royals. The Royals couldn't really scrape across the runs. The difference between the Yankees and the Orioles, that the Orioles literally couldn't score, and the Yankees could. That's the biggest name in the Yankees lineup right now is Giancarlo Stanton, who is really stepping up in the playoffs and shining, even with a lineup with Juan Soto and Aaron Judge. Garrett Cole pitched a strong start. Luke Weaver's shutting things down in the bullpen as the closer. Even Clay Holmes is kind of finding himself in that newish role. Yankees guards. I think the Guardians are kind of the Royals. I don't want to say on steroids necessarily, but I think they have a better lineup than the Royals 1 through 9. They get more clutch hits, obviously. This is an interesting series where the Yankees are clearly favored, but I don't think it's as obvious in New York as it seems.
Greaser, you've been the AL Central muse the whole year. I mean, listen, I want the Guardians to win. Don't get me wrong. I can't see a path. I can't, and I'm not in love with Emmanuel Clase going out there for all these 2-inning saves. You can't have him pitch more than 20, 30 pitches in a game because we saw it in Game 1 against Detroit. They left that one over the plate to Kerry Carpenter. I would worry about that happening against a Juan Soto, against an Aaron Judge at a really clutch moment in this series. So, I don't know. I can't see it happening, honestly. And I hate to say it. I hope it does, but I just can't see it.
I don't either. The Guardians, they're one of those teams, they find ways to win games, but the playoffs don't work like that. As much as we want to say they do, the playoffs ultimately come down to who has talent, who's hot. I wouldn't really even say the Guardians are that hot. I mean, they kind of just continued their formula from the regular season, but that doesn't translate to being to momentum, I guess. Yeah, they won. They did win a series, they won a divisional series at that. But it was against an in-division team as well. So I think that really helps your chances when it's a team that you've seen 20 times already that year. You know what they're going to throw at you. The Yankees, if Stanton is hitting, I mean, that gives them 3, maybe even 4 bats. As long as Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, they just have to hit average. And if they do that, then I think that the Yankees are going to win this series and make it to the World Series. And we'll have to deal with annoying New York fans.
The Guardians have to score early and get that ball to their bullpen as fast as possible. It's Alex Cobb versus Carlos Rodon tonight. The Guardians just have to find a way to scrape across runs against Rodon, which we saw the Royals do last week. But they need to play their brand of baseball. You can't have your starters going out and get crushed early innings, and you have them on a comeback because the team, I don't think, is really built for that. I think the Yankees will win this one as well, but I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, and if this doesn't work out for them, I mean the Cowboys are still playing, and Duke basketball is going to start, so they'll have, and the Lakers too. The Lakers are going to start playing too, so the Yankees fans have a lot to look forward to, but they would certainly like to start it off with the World Series ring.
Royals and Tigers. Talk about the Tigers, but the Royals, I think, a lot to be encouraged over this season, going from 50-something win season to making the playoffs and winning the series. Definitely should add, I think, in the lineup, especially
in the bullpen.
For sure. But don't hang your heads. I saw Mike Moustakas and Eric Hosmer talking about how the city is proud of them. So,
as they should be. They've got a great core there they can rely on for years. They just got to stack, though. They got to be like the Cubs in the beginning of their run. I mean, you have to stack on top of what you've already got.
Yes.
Same with the Tigers too. Look what happened to the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
Right, they made the World Series last year. Don't even make the playoffs next year.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to continue to make your roster better each and every year, or else it's just not going to happen again. You can go on a nice, cool run like this, and it's great and all, but you can't rely on that happening every year. Especially if you're the Tigers, you weren't a good team the entire season. You just happened to get hot at the right time. You can't rely on that.
Yep. We're down to 4 teams, our final 4, if you will, in Major League Baseball, close to its end. as basketball and hockey are getting going. So it'll be a fun way to see how this season really ends.
Definitely so. Great sports weekend that we had last week. It sure be another one upcoming this weekend as well. We're going to wrap up the pod the same way we always do, and that's dog treats. And it's October, so treats have a different meaning. We'll get to a Halloween edition of dog treats later. But for this week, Ryan, you don't have anything on the sheet right now, so that's why I want to start with you. So go ahead and give me your dog treat for this week.
Well,
Unless you were waiting for us to go first.
no, I got mine. I just didn't want to type it out.
Okay.
So, as you said, I was in Texas this last week. I was at Water Ski Nationals. That was a great experience. But part of getting to and from Texas is a 12-hour car ride.
Oh, you had to. Oh gosh.
Yeah. So with that being said, what do you like to do to pass time on a really long car ride? I'm not talking like a 3-4 hour. I'm talking literally a daylight until dark car ride.
The thing is, at least every 2 years, I go on a 10-hour car ride during the summer because I have a family reunion in Louisiana. I go to every year, so we run. It's honestly one of my favorite childhood memories. Is every 2 years going down there. That car ride, I don't know what it is. I just love being in the back because me and my cousin are in the back. A lot of it is listening to music. Maybe chatting it up, whatever you think of with your family or whoever you're in the car with, watching vids or whatever it is. But I just think that experience of hey, where are we stopping at? Where are we stopping at? What gas station are we stopping at? What's local that we find when we're ready to stop and stuff like that? Just that experience of riding, because I'm sure it wasn't fun when you thought about the 12 hours of riding down there, but the experience of hey, we gotta before we go down and do some water ski, we gotta get there first. And what are we gonna do on that ride down there?
That's interesting. One thing I have noticed about myself. So listen, I'm not gonna say this is not to say this to brag or anything or to like oh, I'm an adult. I don't have games on my phone anymore. We all kind of move on from that. Like we're on social media.
Games on
Yeah.
Like what we do on our phone is like now at our age we're like social media, right? We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. But not Facebook. I don't know why I said that.
No.
Twitter and Instagram are the two that people our age are on now. Snapchat, maybe. But every time I go on a long car ride, or when I was on a plane going to Seattle over the summer, there were a couple childhood games on my phone that I re-downloaded and started playing again. So honestly, like that, for me, whether it's a long car ride or just when I know I'm going to have to be in one place for a long time, that's actually the route that I go now. Is I just do a huge nostalgia trip playing old games that I used to have on my iPod back when I was like 10 or 11 and just beating them like so quickly. And I remember thinking, like back then it was such a grind to beat them, and now I just like, oh, it's obvious, you just do this. So yeah, there you go. Shout out Pocket Planes.
Pocket Planes. Oh my gosh.
You have games or
You know the game Pocket Planes?
I had Pocket Planes probably 10 years ago.
Oh,
wow.
yeah, that's when I had it too. And when I went back to Seattle over the summer on the plane, I re-downloaded Pocket Planes. I was playing the crap out of it on the plane, and then for like a week after, and then I was like, I'm kind of over this. Then the new NCAA football game came out, so
There you go.
and we got on that. So anyway, I'll go ahead and go next. It's kind of on the same sort of the same vein as the one Ryan just put out there. So there was speaking of Twitter, there was a guy who works for Barstool Sports. His name is Ohio's Tate.
Oh, yes.
You get it? Okay. So before the season, he put out this list of all Ohio State's opponents because he was so confident we were going to go undefeated. He put out a punishment he would do if we lost, right? The one that comes to mind immediately is if we lost to Western Michigan. He said he was going to drive a white Ford Bronco, because they're the Broncos, across the entire country and couldn't go more than 45 miles per hour if we lost. He says, I may as well just pull up the whole list. This is kind of funny. He said if we lost to Marshall, he was going to get his pilot's license, which is just, for anyone who knows the Marshall plane story. Yeah, and then the other, so we played Oregon this last week, right? And his punishment that he put out for himself was that if we lost to Oregon, he was going to eat 10 duck peeps for every point Oregon scored. Well, I don't know if you saw, Oregon scored 32 points in that game, so he has to eat 320 duck peeps before Ohio State plays their next game. And looking on Twitter right now, it's it's not going well from a health standpoint for everything. But the question I wanted to pose is, if you guys had to eat 320 of something, what do you think you could do it in? I have my answer. Mine is glazed Hostess donuts. Like they come in a little white bag. You know what I mean? And
exactly
you
what you're talking about.
like for me, they're like vitamins. Like I just put them up, boom, boom, boom,
Yep.
pop them in.
No, dude, I might stay. I'll give you two options.
Okay.
I'm gonna stay on the mini donut track
Nice.
with that. Give me. I don't even want the Hostess ones. Like, I want the cheaper. I want the Little Debbie. Like, I'm a very I refuse to buy like on-brand food. Like, I'm well known for that
Interesting.
on the ski team. I just refuse.
Okay.
Like, I will not do it.
Save money.
Save
Oh,
money,
you
man.
save money. Okay.
I'm always on that save and grind. But so I even get like the Hostess bag is like $3.29. I get the $2.79 Little Debbie bag and the frosted chocolate ones.
Honestly, I don't like those.
I love those things. I know that it's like complete
I'm
wax.
glad you like them.
Like, you look at the ingredients, it literally says like carnauba wax, the same stuff you wax your car with.
That
Like,
makes sense.
That is
yeah.
actually on
That makes
the
sense.
ingredients list.
That's exactly what it feels
that
like.
and Great
That's
Value.
why I don't like it.
That and Great Value Fruit Smiles also have carnauba wax in them. I
You know
love
what, that
those
makes
things.
sense now.
I could eat seriously, probably not 320 because that's just so many. But like in a day, I could probably eat like 10 or 12 bags of those. Hate my life
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
But like I could probably do it.
I don't know how many of the donuts I was talking about comes in a bag. It's probably somewhere around like 20 or 25. But like I can just boop, 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 get one out in probably a half hour.
Oh yeah.
Hour.
Oh yeah.
So we have a week, right? This is
For the sake of for the sake of conversation, sure, you have a week.
I think I got like two, and one of them's a candy, and one of them. I think I get 320 Kit Kats for easy.
Mm.
Kit
Like, well,
Kats.
now hold on. Are we talking like, you know how they come in twos, right?
Ooh.
Yeah, the
We're talking
recommend half.
like, are we talking 320 packages or 320 single Kit Kat bars?
I think you go packages on that.
I think I could too. I think
that's even more impressive.
Maybe in a week.
Yeah.
Let's do some quick math.
I mean, you're gonna have.
So a week is 7 days.
Yeah.
It's about 45, 46.
Packets a day.
That's a lot more than
That is
I think it's a lot more than you realize.
So that's
Well,
only 90 of the individual Kit Kat bars a day.
You also
Now,
have to consider you sleep,
Yeah.
unless you don't sleep. Unless you
I
just
definitely
choose not to
definitely
sleep.
sleep. It just have to be a continuous, like when I'm not thinking, keep something on the go.
You'd have to eat like 3 per hour.
Yeah. Which, when you say it like that,
That doesn't sound that
that's
terrible.
not- but then you have to do it every hour. It's
Every
like,
single
yeah.
hour.
I also
Can't
think
forget it.
I get down like some small, not small, but like some smallish Wingstop chicken wings, like Louisiana rub,
Interesting.
something like that, honey hot or whatever it is. I get down in a week 320 of those. I can
you can eat wings.
eat wings, but like with, at the football games they got this blazing challenge. I couldn't do that. I don't think I can do that. Maybe.
No, no chance I can do that.
But 300, I could do 320 wings because I love chicken wings.
That's true.
I get to where like honey garlic is hot sometimes.
Oh wow,
Like,
Oh, really?
I am the whitest of white when it comes to like spicy food.
tough.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Jordan, I did the math.
Uh-huh.
To eat 320 of the Little Debbie donuts,
Mm-hmm.
or in your case, the Hostess donuts, you have to eat 16 bags.
Man. Okay.
So that averages out to 2.25 bags a day. But now that you think about that,
I mean, I could do it, but I might die from the experience.
yeah, you would
Go
feel
into
horrible.
diabetic shock.
You would. I'm not saying you feel good, but you could do
I
it.
probably could do it.
You will
yeah.
not feel good after any of these.
I probably if that's the only thing I ate those days, maybe. But I'd probably have to supplement that with something. You know what I mean?
Oh
So,
yeah, you need protein.
Yeah. So
Protein.
I don't know. I'd probably get like a protein shake and like simultaneously.
Can you blend up the
Watch it
donuts?
around.
Is that okay?
No, that's cheating.
That's cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to, but that might be pretty good actually.
What's
Blend up donuts, then put like a shake with them.
Yeah.
If there's $1 million idea, if that works, we'll start a business on that.
I'll bring my blender next week.
All right, so we'll make it live on the pod. Live on the pod. If Ryan goes undefeated in his picks, we're doing it.
Oh man,
We're doing it. If Ryan goes undefeated on his
If
picks,
somebody goes undefeated this week, they should be crowned with something.
crowned. All right, Howard, take us home. Dog treat. Give us something.
So there's been a lot of commentary over the last week or so. I think that's been sustained over the years. Thursday Night Football, Al Michaels, the play-by-play guy, like he's kept a lot of flack, a lot of slack for his performance, I guess you could say. Specifically, recently, the Kirk Cousins touchdown to win the game in OT, pretty lackluster call from him. And shifting over to baseball, Bob Costas was back doing play-by-play stuff during that Yankees-Royals series, and people were dogging that series. Not just Costas, but just the TBS broadcast in general, how like they wouldn't follow plays, like bad camera angles, all type of stuff. So it's just like older commentary guys in general, I guess you can say, and even newer guys who are being brought in. Former players like Tom Brady not being as, I guess, fun to listen to as a lot of people expected, considering he's the greatest quarterback of all time. So it's very interesting where Boots are at and trying to find that mix, I guess, of informative and also fun.
Right.
I think there's a lot of fun guys. Like Hornets announcer was blowing up last year, and now I hear him doing college football games.
Yep.
And it's like, man,
He's
that's
insane.
he's great to listen to. And then also from the analyst side, find somebody who is informative, giving you something that you don't really think of, something that you don't necessarily pay attention to, but also being enjoyable to listen to. I think I talked about it on the pod before where Tony Romo was predicting plays several years ago.
Yeah.
And it's the CBS was saying, hey, we need less of that. And I wonder, like, is Brady getting informed? Because I know Brady has more to say than what he's given this typical analyst side of things. But
You can tell he's uncomfortable too.
yeah.
sometimes.
And maybe that is just him. Like, maybe he isn't as comfortable in the booth as Romo was. But, like, I would love to hear, like, more stories or just more actual analysis of what's going on from Brady's perspective, because he played in the league for so long. He lived football for over half his life. So it's interesting where commentary booths are. We saw even somebody like Joe Buck. He kind of got pushed out of baseball, and now he's found himself on Monday Night Football. We'll hear him tonight. But it's interesting where commentary booths are, where play-by-play guys are at, and stuff like that. So where it's people are kind of pushing those old guys out necessarily.
Yeah, I think broadcasting is one of those, particularly doing play-by-play and color commentary is one of those jobs that it's almost better if people don't notice you while you're doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. It's. I think Bob Costas, the problem is like, this is something actually I think you'll be excited to talk about. There was a lot of people saying that TBS was like purposely drowning out the crowd noise.
Yeah.
And so that only enhances like what the commentator is saying. So like Bob Costas became the show during the game, but the game should speak for itself. The commentator should only just be there to. I mean, really, I don't really listen to the commentators when they're broadcasting. Really, like honestly, I don't. So really, like the game should be the story. But the problem is like we've started to make like Tony Romo the story or Tom Brady the story. No, the game should be the story, and unfortunately, I think TBS did a bad job of that with Bob Costas. Just like, even if he does stink, you know, and he clearly is past his prime, like, let's just don't make him the center of attention. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's more important for radio
Yeah. For
because they really are the story.
They have to,
But for TV, I'm kind of with you. Like, I don't necessarily hear it. Like, I hear it, but it's not like what I'm actually thinking about.
Right.
It's more, I hear it more if I'm watching a replay or if I'm backing the game up when I'm not, like, just watching the play happen the first time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, radio for sure. You gotta paint the picture because the viewer or listener, I guess, can't see.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. Costas has like one of my favorite calls when Pedro Strop walked off the mound.
Oh, what did he say? He was like, he's praying to a dead relative.
Yeah,
It's like,
or something like that. I don't know, for this atrocious performance or something like that. That's why we ended it, and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Also, my favorite Eric Collins call, a basketball game with the Hornets and the Wolves last year. Cat had like 50, and he hit a 3. But before he hit the 3, Collins was like, no! Like he was telling like Cat not to shoot. And then Cat hit the shot. He was like, oh!
You do that again?
He's like, okay, I'm gonna act like I'm doing it.
Oh gosh, okay.
No. Oh,
Like I'm gonna show you guys after the.
And well, that's the cold open for the podcast. No context. That's the cold open.
Like every time I hear it, I just die laughing because like, I just wonder what's going through his mind
Yeah.
when he's it's hilarious.
He-
He's great.
He was calling that UCF game last year where the dude was like about to get sacked. He's like, McLean, what do you got for me, McLean? No, he's electric. He's electric for sure. This podcast was electric, I think. And if you're listening on Spotify, please check out the new YouTube channel, insiDE Sports. This podcast will be out this weekend, sometime between Thursday and Saturday. For Editor Will, for Howard Woodard, and for Ryan Greaser, this is Jordan Cruz signing off. We'll see you next week. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
No.